Shabbat Shalom, and welcome back here to the Light of the Nations. It's a blessing, like every week, to be once again with you to share the word of YaHuWaH. In this portion that we're doing in the book of Devarim, I welcome all of you that I see in the chat, many of you connected. Also, all of you that maybe are not in the chat but are also with us here online. It's a blessing to have all of you here. And in case you are not joining us online and you are taking a look in this video study later on Shabbat or maybe later on the week, also it's a blessing to have all of you with us studying the word of YaHuWaH. You know, we're getting almost to the end of the book, I think, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, it's just beautiful to do these portions and these cycles year after year because there are more wisdom and more understanding that YaHuWaH is bringing to the hearts of all of us. And, you know, it's like repeating a classroom just to make sure that we are not forgetting anything. It's just to remember YaHuWaH with his commandment, his instructions. So, you know, I think we are going to have a long session today because I have to share a few things with you before we go to the portion. The first thing, and I don't remember if I mentioned this last week, but, you know, we are being commanded to take a look in the signs on the heavens. And I think there's no doubt in our hearts that we are living on the last days. And I had the chance to share some information with Camila and Karen over the week, is that there are some signs coming in the next week and the next month and next year that we need to keep praying for this, and we need to ask Allah to guide us in all truth. And because, you know, as I have been sharing with you in the calendar series, it's just a matter to take a look in the book of Genesis, Bereshit, and we can see that YaHuWaH assigned the luminaries to be for signs. And
in specific times, yeah.
Exactly, to determine the times, and those are the ones that are helping us to also to understand the calendar. But you know, he will provide signs on the heavens in order to let us know the times that will come, part of the plan. And though we don't know yet, we don't have the complete understanding what those signs mean, it doesn't necessarily mean that we need to disregard the signs on the heavens. We need to take a look on them. And let me show you something. I'm going to put the screen over here, and I'm going to show you a few of the signs that are coming soon. So the first one is coming now on next week, actually, on the 30th of August. And it's related to the moon. Let me put it here. So there you have. So you see that basically a full moon that the world is talking that is going to be a supermoon is in the constellation of Aquarius. And though this is happening almost every year, I think it's relevant when we think this is happening, you know, in the last days. The moon is a representation, and it's not the moment to go into the details, but I can tell you it's a representation of the mother, based on what is the dream of Joseph. You know, the dream of Joseph. If you go to the book of Bereshit, Genesis, you will understand this. And the constellation of Aquarius is very significant because he's a man pouring water, living water. Who is the baptizer? Is Yahushua, the one providing the living waters that are a representation of the Ruach HaKodesh. So this is something very significant. And though, as I said, this is happening every year, also in the same constellation we see Saturn. And Saturn, many believes that is a representation of Satan. I tend to believe the same. And you know, having Saturn in this constellation is a kind of, you know, as we see in the book of Revelation, chapter 12, It's like trying to avoid the water to be poured on the moon. So I don't know if this is the significance, but again, the message is that we need to watch all of the signs just to understand what YaHuWaH wants to tell us with the signs on the stars and the constellations. The next one is coming on October, and this is very significant too. It's in the 14th of October, and this is in the constellation of Virgo, of the Virgin, and basically it's going to be a solar eclipse, and they're calling it is an annular solar eclipse because we're going to be able to see a ring because it's a new moon that is going to be covered in the sun, and basically we're going to be a ring of fire surrounding the moon is the fire of the sun. And this is exactly happening on the, at the hand, in the speaker, is where we see here in the visual representation of the woman, which is having the wheat. And also we see two wandering stars, and we can see these are kind of two testimonies. It's Mercury and Mars. And what's happening, the next one is happening, I think it's in the 28th of the same month on October. Let me see if I can find it. Here we have. So this is going to be a partial eclipse in the moon. And I was hearing 1 or 2 weeks ago that some believes is that this partial eclipse is exactly on this constellation of Cetus. And this is a kind of a whale or big fish representing what happened with the Jonah. And some believe that this is the sign of Jonah, that even they're thinking that it could be related to the end times. So, and we know that the next year on April 8th is coming this full eclipse, and it is going to mark the second line forming across in the United States. So I don't know, I think I'm bringing this to you because I do believe that we need to be sure and ask the Ruach of Elohim to guide us in the understanding, to provide wisdom, so for us to understand what is the meaning of all these signs. But there is something that we cannot deny, is that YaHuWaH is speaking to us through the heavens, through the stars. So it's up to us to take a look and look up, see the stars, see the signs on the luminaries, and to ask YaHuWaH to guide us in the interpretation. So, and I see the comment from Christine here. Yeah, dear sister, I also saw that there is a comment visible during April 8th.
Wow.
And also I think there is a comment in this year. That's something I was reading as well. So
is it in the same day? The eclipse and the comet?
Yeah, this is what Christine is saying. A comment visible during April 8th solar eclipse. So all of this is very representative. And again, as I said, we need to look up, we need to use our eyes, we need to ask for understanding in all these things. So the second thing that I want to share with you, I kept my scripture open almost this entire week. Yeah, Susan is saying it's on September 23. Also another comment. So thank you, dear sister. So what I was telling you is that I kept my scripture open the entire week because, I just open it, as sometimes I do it. And I just opened it in the book of Daniel, and it was so mind-blowing what I saw, and the Ruach allowed me to see a few additional things that I didn't understand before, and somehow are connected to the end times. So I want to put the screen here with the scripture, just to guide you through the book. And this is not related at all to the portion, but I'm feeling moved to share all of this with you. So this is in the chapter 5. And we're going to read from the verse 10 onward. You know, I just landed here, and I think this is something that Abba wanted to show me on regarding to the end time. So we're going to read the chapter 5 and 6, and I will just highlight the points that I saw, okay? So it says, the sovereignness, because of the words of the sovereign and his great men, came to the banquet hall. And the sovereignness spoke and said, O sovereign, live forever. Do not let your thoughts alarm you, nor let your color change. There is a man in your reign in whom is the Ruach of the set apart Elohim, or Elohim. And in the days of your father, light and understanding and wisdom, like the wisdom of the Elohim or Elohim, were found in him. And sovereign Nebuchadnezzar, your father the sovereign, made him chief of the magicians, astrologers, Kasdim, and diviners, because an excellent spirit, knowledge, and understanding, interpreting dreams and explaining riddles and solving difficult problems were found in this Daniel, whom the sovereign named Belteshazzar. Now let Daniel be called and let him show the interpretation. So let me stop for a moment, because this is the first thing that Abba allowed me to see. So Daniel was in Babylon. He was as we are in Babylon. And the only thing that there was somehow allowing Daniel to highlight among the people is because the Ruach of Elohim was in him. Even he was on top of the magicians, the sorcerers, and so on. What do you think Daniel did? For sure, he led him in the right way. So, you know, thinking in our position now that we are in Babylon, now that we are going to enter into the Great Tribulation, sooner or later, the only thing, in the same way that we see Daniel, in the story of Daniel here, the only thing that is going to help us in this situation is to have the Ruach of Elohim within us. It's not my words, it's what we see in the story of Daniel. And I think this chapter and the next one is a complete foreshadow of the end times. And if we look at it with the spiritual eyes, understanding this is a foreshadow of the end times, we are going to see it clearly, without doubt, is that the Ruach of Elohim is the one that is going to help us during persecution, even during temptation. So let me continue. So Daniel was brought in before the sovereign. The sovereign spoke and said to Daniel, Are you that Daniel who is one of the sons of the exile from YaHuWaH, whom my father the sovereign brought from YaHuWaH? I have heard of you that the Ruach of Elohim is in you, and that light and understanding and excellent wisdom are found in you. How we are going to be able to understand even the signs of the heaven, how we are going to be able to get the wisdom that is coming from above, from YaHuWaH Elohim, is by asking Abba to give us of the Ruach of Elohim to dwell in us. There is no other way. We can be wise in Torah. We can be wise in the letter. We have to be wise in the letter. We have to be wise in Torah. But if we want to be fully wise and to have full wisdom that is coming from YaHuWaH Elohim, we need to ask for the wisdom, and we need to ask for the Ruach of Elohim in us. That's the only way that the people is going to be able to recognize that the Ruach and the wisdom is with us. And the wise ones, the astrologers, have been brought in before me, that they should read this writing and make known to me its interpretation, but they were unable to show the interpretation of word. And I myself have heard of you, that you are able to give interpretations and to solve difficult problems. Now, if you are able to read the writing and make known its interpretation to me, you are to be robed in purple and have a chain of gold around your neck, and shall be the third ruler in the reign. Isn't it the same that Shaddam was offering to Yahushua in the wilderness? For me, it's the same thing. It's just temptation, just to put our focus is something totally different than the kingdom and the righteousness of the kingdom of YaHuWaH. But we will see what's the answer of Daniel. And that should be our answer from our heart. It should be our focus in the kingdom of Elohim. Then Daniel answered and said before the sovereign, let your gifts be for yourself, and give your rewards to another. Yet I shall read the writing to the sovereign, and make known the interpretation to him. O sovereign, the Most High Elah or Elohim gave Nebuchadnezzar your father a reign and greatness, and preciousness and esteem. And because of the greatness which he gave him, all peoples, nations, and languages trembled and feared before him. Whomever he wished, he killed, and whomever he wished, he kept alive, and whomever he wished, he raised up, and whomever he wished, he made low. You know, for me, this is a description of what's going to happen on the end times. It's just one kingdom, one king that is going to be ruling over all the world. This is a perfect description, and YaHuWaH is the one allowing this to happen. But when his heart was lifted up, and his spirit was so strong as to act proudly, he was put down from his throne of reign, and they took his preciousness from him. Then he was driven from the sons of men, and his heart was made like the beasts, and his dwelling was with the wild donkeys. He was given grass to eat like oxen, and his body was wet with the dew of the heavens, till he knew that the Most High Elah is ruler in the reign of men, and he sets up over it whomever he wishes. This is for me a description of a beast, a man becoming a beast. And you, his son, Belshazzar, have not humbled your heart, although you knew all this. You know, even having the understanding, even being a witness, a direct witness of what happened to his father, he didn't want to follow with a humble heart. That sometimes is happening to all of us. And we need to be so careful that we are examining our heart in a daily basis, that we are not committing the same mistake, that we are humble before YaHuWaH Elohim. And you have lifted yourself up against the master of the heavens, and they brought before you the vessels of his house. And you and your great men, your wives and your concubines, have been drinking wine from them. You know, what if happen if those vessels are these vessels? We are also a vessel. What are we doing with this vessel? Are we setting apart this vessel for YaHuWaH? Are we respecting that this is the temple of YaHuWaH and not committing sin with this temple? This is something serious that we need to analyze, and somehow it's connected to the portion that we are going to read today. And you have praised the Elohim of silver and of gold, idolatry, of bronze, of iron, of wood, and of stone, which neither see nor hear nor know, but the Elohim who holds your breath in his hand and owns all your ways, you have not made great. You know, that's the power of YaHuWaH. He is the one holding our life. He is the one holding our breath. If we're able to breathe, if we're able to see, if we're able to eat, it's because YaHuWaH the one allowing us to do that. We're so used to believe everything we just see, the material things, the visible things, when the invisible things are more important, because in the invisible things is where YaHuWaH is acting and allowing these invisible things to materialize invisible things, because this is the way that he created everything in the world, even here in us. Then the part of the hand that was sent from him, and this writing was inscribed, and this is the writing that was inscribed: Mene Mene Tekel Uparshin. This is the interpretation of each word. Mene, Elohim has numbered your reign and put an end to it. Tekel, you have been weighed on the scales and found lacking. And this is so important, because it's to be weighed in a scale, and it's that we're missing weight.
Something is not complete.
Something is not complete, exactly. What is the thing that we are missing? And this is so relevant that it's something we need to study. Because, the Spirit somehow has a weight. If we're missing righteousness, and if we're missing the light and the Spirit of YaHuWaH, we're missing the weight in order to be right in the scale of YaHuWaH Elohim. This is something that we need to study carefully and in depth. Perez, your reign has been divided and given to the Medes and Persians. Then Belshazzar gave orders, and they robed Daniel in purple and put a chain of gold around his neck. And they proclaimed concerning him that he is the third ruler in the reign. In that night Belshazzar, sovereign of Kasdim, was killed. And YaHuWaH, the Mede, took over the reign, being about 62 years old. So there is no doubt, absolutely no doubt, that writing on the wall was already written again. There's no doubt that we are living in these times. So it's up to us to decide how we are going to live in these end times. And we see the main thing is to keep the vessel clean, is to follow the righteousness of the kingdom of YaHuWaH, and to seek the Ruach of Elohim. Because by having the Ruach of Elohim is the only way that we're going to have protection. And you will see it more clearly in the next chapter. Let's go to chapter 6. It pleased YaHuWaH to appoint over the reign 120 viceroys to be over all the reign, and over them 3 governors, of whom Daniel was one, so that these viceroys should give account to them, and the sovereign suffered no loss. Then this Daniel distinguished himself above the governors and viceroys. And why he was able to distinguish himself? Because an excellent spirit was in him, and the sovereign planned to appoint him over all the reign. What was that excellent spirit? Is the Ruach of Elohim. Are we going to keep ourselves just with the book? That is so important. We need to have the book. But there is more. It's more than that. And YaHuWaH wants to give us to all of us. It's the same spirit that was in Daniel. It's the Ruach of Elohim that is going to complete the promises and the rewards of YaHuWaH Elohim for his people. Then the governors and viceroys sought to find occasions against Daniel concerning the reign, but they were unable to find occasion or corruption, because he was steadfast, and no negligence or corruption was found in him, because he was keeping the Torah, spirit and in truth, keeping the righteousness of Torah, and keeping the Ruach, working in the Ruach of Elohim. Then this man said, we shall not find any occasion against this Daniel unless we find it against him concerning the law of his Elohim, and think on what's going to happen on the end times. I think this is so relevant to understand how we are going to be persecuted, how persecution from the anti-Mashiach will come into the world to the believers, because persecution will come for the believers, not for the rest of the world, if we read carefully the prophecies of the end times. So here we see a key indication how it's going to be. Persecution because concerning the law, the Torah of YaHuWaH. Then these governors and viceroys tumultuously gathered before the sovereign and said this to him, Sovereign YaHuWaH, live forever. All the governors of the reign, the nobles and viceroys, the counselors and advisors, have consulted together to establish a royal decree and to make a strong interdict that whoever petitions any Elohim or man for 30 days, except you, O sovereign, is thrown into the den of lions. Now, sovereign, establish the interdict and sign the writing, so that it is not to be changed according to the law of the Medes and the Persians, which does not pass away. So the sovereign YaHuWaH signed the written interdict. And this for me was a confirmation of something that I have been seeing for years. And I don't remember if I mentioned this on the last day series. There is a difference on the timing that Daniel received regarding the end times. He received 1260 days, and also he received 1290 days. There is a difference of 30 days. And when I began studying the end times on 2017 in the video studies that I share here in the channel, I always was wondering about the 30 days, and my first understanding was that we will have 30 days since the abomination of desolation will be established. 30 days to run away. Because this was exactly what YaHuWaH was instructing the disciples. When you see the abomination of desolation, go to the mountains, because a great persecution is coming. So if we see exactly what's happening here, we see they're establishing a way to persecute and to kill. And they're defining a 30 days period of time in order to find those that are not going to decide to go against the law of their Elohims and to continue with the law of the reign of the kingdom. 30 days period to identify who is not complying, thank you, not complying with the law of man. So this is really relevant, and we need to think about it, because I think this time is coming soon. And in the same way that we see happening in Daniel, it could happen here on the end times. I have no doubt in my heart that this is a foreshadow of what's coming. It's not going to be, maybe a chip in our hands. It's not going to be maybe a digital ID, though I do believe those things are coming. But what's matter is exactly if they're going to push us to break the Torah of YaHuWaH. And it's going to be our decision, in the same way that Daniel needed to decide if we're going to comply with the laws of man, or we're going to continue steadfast, clinging to the Torah of YaHuWaH and his promises. And here we see a clear example in the life of Daniel of what we have to do. But it will depend on our hearts. If our hearts are true, are faithful to YaHuWaH Elohim. So it says, and Daniel, when he knew that the writing was signed, went home and in his upper room, with his windows open toward Jerusalem, he knelt down on his knees 3 times a day and prayed and gave thanks before his Allah as he had done before. They were trying to remove the continual offering, and think in the other words of Daniel about the 70 weeks. What they were trying to do is to remove the continual offering that is praying. What is our continual offering in this dwelling place in our temple of today? Is to pray to YaHuWaH. And they were trying to avoid that. And what Daniel did is to continue offering to YaHuWaH his offering of his voice by praying to him 3 times a day. Could it be that maybe this is what they are going to try to do in the end times? Could be, I don't know. Maybe it's going to be another type of law that is going to make us and push us to break the Torah. There are many that believes that it's going to be about Shabbat. They are going to push us to break Shabbat. I don't know, but we will need to be with open eyes, open ears, to understand what's going on in the world, and to comply with the Torah of YaHuWaH, not with the Torah and the laws of men. And pray and gave thanks before his Elohim, as he had done before. Then these men tumultuously gathered and found Daniel praying and entreating before his Elohim. Then they approached the sovereign and spoke concerning the sovereign's interdict. Have you not signed an interdict that every man who petitions any Elohim or man within 30 days, except you, 30 days period of time, O sovereign, is thrown into the dens of lions? The sovereign answered and said, the word is certain according to the law of the Medes and the Persians, which it does not pass away. Then they answered and said before the sovereign, Daniel, who is one of the sons of the exile from Yehuda, pays no heed to you, O sovereign, nor for the interdict that you have signed, but makes his petition 3 times a day. Then the sovereign, when he heard these words, was greatly displeased with himself, and set his heart on Daniel to deliver him, and he labored till the going down of the sun to deliver him. Then these men tumultuously gathered before the sovereign, and said to the king, to the sovereign, Know, O sovereign, that is the law of the Medes and Persians, that any interdict or decree which the sovereign establishes is not to be changed. This is exactly what we see. You know, the laws of man being more important than the law of Elohim. We need to think differently. Is the Torah of YaHuWaH the most important thing for us instead of the law of man? It's true that we need to respect the sovereign. It's true that we need to respect the governments. It's true that we need to respect the law of the nations of the land. But we need to respect the most the Torah of YaHuWaH Elohim, because this is the only thing that is going to keep us walking in righteousness in order to receive the reward of the kingdom of Elohim. We cannot change our mind on that, because it's exactly what we see happening in the life of Daniel, in his example. Then the sovereign gave orders, and they brought Daniel and threw him into the dens of lions. But the sovereign spoke and said to Daniel, Your Elohim, whom you serve continually, he himself delivers you. This is the example. We need to serve YaHuWaH continually in order to receive salvation. And a stone was brought and laid on the mouth of the den, and the sovereign sealed it with his own signet and with the signets of his great men, that the situation concerning Daniel might not be changed. You know, this is something similar to what happened to Yahushua now that I see it. You know, a big stone was put in the cave. You know, he was dead. Even the sign or the signet of the Romans was put on the rock. You know, everybody thought that he was dead. But something different happened, because Yahushua rose up from the dead by the mighty hand of Yahushua and YaHuWaH and his Ruach. And the sovereign went to his palace, and spent the night fasting, and no entertainment was brought before him, and his sleep fled from him. Then the sovereign rose up very early in the morning and hurried to the dens of lions. And when he came to the den, he called with a great voice to Daniel. The sovereign spoke and said to Daniel, Daniel, servant of the living Elah, has your Elohim, whom you serve continually, been able to deliver you from the lions? Then Daniel said to the sovereign, O sovereign, live forever. My Elohim has sent his messenger and has shut the lion's mouth, and they did not harm me, because I was found innocent before him. And also before you, O sovereign, I have done no harm. Then the sovereign was very glad, and gave orders that Daniel be taken up out of the den. And Daniel was taken up out of the den, and no harm was found on him, because he trusted in his Elohim. And the sovereign gave orders that they brought those men who had accused Daniel, and they threw them, their children and their wives, into the den of lions. And the lions overpowered them, and broke all their bones in pieces before they reached the floor of the den. And the sovereign Darius wrote to all peoples and nations and languages that dwell in all the earth, Peace be increased to you. From before me is made a decree, that throughout every rule of my reign men are to tremble and fear before the Elohim of Daniel, for he is the living Elohim, and steadfast forever, and his reign is one which is not destroyed, and his rule is unto them. He delivers and rescues, and he works signs and wonders in the heavens and on earth, for he has delivered Daniel from the power of the lions. And this Daniel prospered in the reign of Darius and in the reign of Koresh the Persian. So, you know, what's the main thing over here? How Daniel was able to be protected? Because he trusted in YaHuWaH, because he kept the Torah of his Elohim instead of the laws of men, and because the Ruach of Elohim was in him. You know, we can think on what happened with the disciples. You know, we are going to live in our own experiences. The book of Acts. They were under huge persecution. But the only way that they were able to be protected, the only way that they were able to survive in order to fulfill their purpose, is to have the Ruach of Elohim dwelling in them. They were saved from prisons. They were saved from murders. They were saved, you know, even from animals. Why? Because the Ruach of Elohim was with them. So I think it's up to us now to seek the Ruach of Elohim while we keep studying and keeping the righteousness of the kingdom of YaHuWaH, because that's going to be the protection we are going to have now in the end times. And you know what's the beauty of all of this? It's exactly what happened at the end of the chapter 6 of Daniel. Because of the signs and wonders, because of the faithfulness of Daniel, that he was serving YaHuWaH all the time, that the nations and the king was able to understand that the only one that is able to rescue, the only one that this has to receive and is worthy to receive all the glory, the honor, and the praises and the worship is YaHuWaH Elohim, because he is the only true Elohim. Sorry that I extended too much, but I needed to share this with you. It was in my heart for many days. And you know, when YaHuWaH is putting something in the heart, we have to be obedient and we need to deliver the message. Is something you want to share, like while I'm drinking a little bit of water, please?
I imagine the moments, because when he was in the den of lions and the king was even praying and fasting for him, because imagine how terrible for him was, knowing that the instruction that he gave was going to put in danger his friend's life. But he even knew, and he was fasting for that reason. He was supporting and not that putting doubts in his heart. So
I think it's the period to fast.
Yeah.
I think we are living in that period that we need to pray more and fast more. So in order to be able to hear the voice of YaHuWaH and also to intercede for others. It's exactly what you're saying. The king believed in Daniel. Why he believed in Daniel? Because he saw that the Ruach was with him. And because he believed in Daniel, somehow through Daniel, he was believing in YaHuWaH. And he was fasting in order to intercede for Daniel in order to be rescued. So this is exactly what we can do for our brothers and sisters that are going through difficulties. We need to intercede for them through prayers and fasting. This is the time to do it. We cannot wait any second of our lives. We need to do it now because we see what's going on in the world. We need to use all the tools and the weapons that YaHuWaH is giving us in order to fight the battle. Okay, so let's move on because we need to. This is going to be a long portion and long broadcast, but so it be. You know, we are here in order to proclaim and to deliver the word of YaHuWaH and what YaHuWaH is putting in our hearts, in order to grow together, in order to learn together, in order to be prepared as a family together in these end times. Okay, so, but as we have been doing it in the last 2 weeks, though, you know, my mouth is getting very dry, I want to sing.
Okay.
Okay, so let me put this one thing. So just be patient with us, with me, especially with me. I'm the one talking the most. Please let me know if you're able to hear me in the chat. Okay, because I just changed the microphone. So please let me know if you're able to hear. Just put the comment in the chat, please. Sounds great. Okay, perfect. Now you should be able to hear the guitar. Let me know you are able to hear the guitar, please. And I need to do a last change here. So let me know if you are able to hear the guitar. Perfect. Okay, I'm gonna sing two songs. One is in Spanish, so you will need to forgive me and ask YaHuWaH to teach you Spanish, you know. But I was hearing this song yesterday while I was driving, and it's a song that I used to sing when I was a teenager at church. And somehow it's connected to what I was sharing with you now, because it should be the desire of our heart. And I'm gonna tell you what it says in English. It says, "In you, my heart trust," or my heart trust in you. It's only in you that I find peace, and I can rest. My soul is resting in you, and in you I can find joy and can be happy. I can find happiness. This is basically what the song in Spanish, the lyrics in Spanish says. So the chords is in the E major. Sorry that my voice is not the best today. So I will try to do my best, okay? So be patient with me, okay? And thank you, Barry, if you are watching this video, just to let me know that there was a kind of a filter. Exactly, it was a filter. So now it should sound even better. En ti confía mi corazón, en ti reposa mi alma, mi ser descansa en ti, puedo ser feliz. Confía mi corazón, en ti reposa mi alma, mi ser descansa en ti, puedo ser feliz. En ti confía mi corazón, en ti reposa mi alma. Puedo ser feliz, porque sé que estás sobrando tu perfecta voluntad. En mi vida estás sobrando tu perfecta voluntad, porque sé que estás sobrando tu perfecta voluntad. En mi vida estás sobrando tu perfecta voluntad. En ti confía mi corazón, en ti
Descansa mi alma, mi ser, descansa en ti, puedo ser feliz en ti. That's a beautiful song. So the second is going to be in English and Hebrew, okay? And this, I think, was one of the key songs that we were sharing in our last visit to the States. And it's a beautiful song from Joshua Aaron. And you can sing with me, even though they're not gonna hear you, okay? Because the sound is only from here. So, you know, the key word in this song is the word bo, B-O, bo. That is a Hebrew word that it means come. So when you hear that word, it's basically saying come. Okay, so try to sing this with me, okay? Let the one who hears the Savior say, come. Let the one who is thirsty come. Before the Aleph and Tav, beginning and the never thirst again. Ruach ve'akala omrim bo, Ruach ve'akala omrim bo. The Spirit and the bride, they say, come, come, come. Bo, 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 Ruach ve'akala omrim bo, Ruach ve'akala omrim bo. All the honor and the worship is for YaHuWaH Elohim. So let me share another song with you. I'm not gonna sing, but I'm gonna just play it. So here we go.
ספק שטפוני, החזק בי שלא אטבע, מילים משתיקות עשה, מילים מביאות תקווה, דבר אל ליבי ישוע, אתה בקרבי שלווה. צל כנפך, נקלט לנפשי לך, אמחה דמעותיי בך, מילים מרפאות הצער, מילים של חמלה וחום, דבר אל ליבי ישוע, בקרבתך חקור נא ליבי עזרני, ללמוד לציית לך, באהבתך לשמוח, ולחסד להיכנע, דבר אל ליבי ישוע, למדני ברוח קולך.
Okay, I think it's time to pray. Let's pray together. YaHuWaH Elohim, we want to give thanks to you for this gathering. We want to give thanks to you for your children here with us because of their love for you. Thank you, Abba, because we can feel your presence. Because we know that your Ruach is among us. And I want to ask you, Abba, in this moment, that you can touch the hearts of each one of us here in this gathering. And also you can touch the heart of those that are going to watch this study later. That they can feel your presence. Because time is nothing for you. You are the owner of time. We want to tell you in this moment that we love you. That the desire of our heart is to serve you and to do your perfect will. We want to tell you that we want to deny ourselves in order to allow the life of your Son YaHuWaH HaMashiach to live through us. We want to ask you, Abba, that you can guide us in these last days. And we can be attentive to your word and to your voice, so that we can serve you in the truth and the righteousness of your word, but also in the newness of your Ruach HaKodesh in us. We trust in you with all our being. And we know that the only way that we are going to be able to endure until the end is by being beside you, by seeking you continually and serving you continually. Give us the strength, give us the emunah we need for these times in order to lift up our heads and to serve you and to shine in the midst of the darkness, so the world can see your love, your compassion, and your power. Here in this moment, we want to tell you, that our hearts are for you, and we are ready to take the role that you have assigned to all of us, and to take the lead in order to bring the good news of your kingdom to whenever or wherever, in whatever place, or whomever you put in front of us. We want to serve you in this way. And we know that you know our hearts, but we want to tell you with our voice that here we are. Send us. Use us, as your instruments in order to bring your light into the world. Guide us in this study, that you can give us the wisdom and the understanding and the heart to learn your word. Open our hearts and give us a heart of flesh instead of having a heart of stone, in order to see the truth and the beauty of your word. Guide our words, our thoughts, and let your Ruach speak through us, because you are the one instructing us through our teacher and our master, our Rabbi, that is YaHuWaH HaMashiach, because we are all students of him, and we want to let him to teach us today. Thank you, Abba, for this gathering and for your presence and for listening to our voices. Protect your flock, Abba. Protect your sheep in these times, that we can be under your wing, and we can seek continually to be under your wing in order to be protected all the time. I pray for each one of them, and not only for those that are joining us here in this Light to the Nations channel, but for your entire remnant in this time, for this generation of your people, that you can bring protection and the outpouring of your Ruach HaKodesh. Thank you, Abba, for this time of worship and for your presence and your love for us. In the mighty name of your Son YaHuWaH HaMashiach, our Melech, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, let's move on. Watch in 60 seconds. Okay?
Yeah.
Shalom and welcome to Parsha in 60 Seconds. Today's portion is from Deuteronomy 21:10, 25, 19. It is called Tetze, which means when you go. If an Israelite wanted to marry a captive woman, he must give her a makeover and mourn for his dead future in-laws for a month. An absolutely defiant son would be stoned. Cross-dressing was forbidden. Plowing with an ox and a donkey together was forbidden. Moses instructed that one was to make tassels called tzitzi. To marry a woman and then falsely accuse her of not being a virgin would result in the false accuser's flogging. If the woman was not a virgin, she would be stoned. If a man lies with an unclaimed virgin, he is required to marry her. Marrying your father's former wife was forbidden. If a man discharges during the night, he must leave the camp for a day and bathe. A man can relieve himself outside the camp and would bury his discharge with a spike. Prostitution was illegal. Charging interest to a loan on one's kin was not cool, but charging a foreigner was okay. Kidnapping an Israelite was punishable by death. Debts could not be collected forcibly. Fallen crops from the harvest were to be left for the needy. When flogged, no more than 40 lashes were allowed. If your brother died with no son, you are required to marry his wife and give her a son. If the wife of one seizes another man's during a fight, then her hand was to be cut off. The Israelites were to remember the ambush of the Amalekites and declare that Amalek's memory be blotted out from under heaven. And that is Tetze in 60 seconds.
Okay.
Tetze.
Tetze is a difficult portion because there are many things that are complicated, but we will let the
And
Ruach to
everything
guide
different.
us.
Yeah.
But let's see, we're here to talk about the word and the truth of the word of YaHuWaH. Okay, so it is chapter 22,
21,
21, 10.
until 25, 19.
Okay. So you want me to read this one or you want to start?
As you
Okay.
wish.
Okay, so let's move on. So is chapter 21. I can begin. And let's see what the Ruach is bringing to the picture. So it says, when you go out to fight against your enemies, and YaHuWaH your Elohim shall give them into your hand, and you shall take them captive, and shall see among the captives a woman fair of form, and shall delight in her and take her for your wife. Then you shall bring her home to your house, and she shall shave her head and trim her nails, and put aside the mantle of her captivity, and shall dwell in your house, and mourn her father and her mother a month of days. And after that you shall go into her and be her husband, and she shall be your wife. And it shall be, if you are not pleased with her, then you shall let her go at her desire, but you do not sell her at all for silver. Do not treat her harshly, since you have humbled her. So that's the first one. Any comments from your side?
That all the activities that she has to do is that they shave the head, trim the nails, and put aside the mantle of captivity, that like the old clothes that she was bringing. It's something that she has to initiate. She has to do those actions.
Okay.
And I think, at least for me, what it represents is like a renewal, like a newborn. It's like being born
You're right.
again
I
process.
didn't notice that. She is the one that needs to shave her head.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
somebody else.
Okay.
So for me is that she has to, she needs to have that desire of be born again, of be clean, because everything, the hair, and I could realize now when I was in my parents' house, if you have long hair and everything, you are going to bring even the smell of the food there, because it was in the, so I need to wash it. But imagine, because maybe everything here is like, is open somehow. Even the hair, everything is connected to our body. The nails. So maybe she was, I don't know, a different kind of work, and she has something that it was not pure in behind the nails. And also the clothes, because you are bringing some particles, some things that are not clean into this new house. So, and crying out and maybe mourning because of the father and her mother, is because it's going to be a separation. It's going to be a new life. Maybe even the things that she learned when she was little, living with them, must to be like cut. So tradition, the things that you do because your parents teach you when you were young and you thought that they were good, maybe in this way you are like putting a new beginning. So you are going to be, it's going to be a start over point for you.
Yeah, I fully agree with you, by the way. I think this is something, an act of an act of, we are good here. Just give me a second, please.
It was heard.
Yeah, no, it was
Okay,
heard all the time. Don't worry. Yeah,
okay.
Just put in the filters again because of the noise.
Mm.
So yeah, I fully agree with you. I think one point that I just want to add, and you didn't mention, so it's going to complement somehow.
Mhm.
I think is what is written in the chapter 11 of the book of First Corinthians.
Mhm.
Okay. So we are being instructed, and this is not only Shaul talking about that. If we do the proper study of the word, we will see by ourselves this truth. Okay, this truth. Actually, there was a beautiful video that a sister in Wichita sent us this week that is also somehow representing this, just to taking a look in the Hebrew, in the pictographic Hebrew, just to understand the meaning of the letter of Av, Abba, father, and mother, Ima. So what the Shaul says said in the chapter 3, in the verse 3 of the chapter 11 is the following. And I wish you to know that the head of every man is Messiah, and the head of woman is the man, and the head of Messiah is Elohim. So, he's starting this passage just to remind us what is the coverage or the authority, okay? I don't like to use the word hierarchy because, it could be misunderstood. But according to the scripture, when we talk about patriarchy, there is a level of coverage that needs to come from above to the bottom, to the top to the bottom, okay? And this is coming first from Elohim, just reading what is written here, is providing the coverage to Yahushua the Messiah. Messiah is providing the coverage to man, and man, it has the responsibility to provide the coverage to woman. Okay? And actually there is a reference here in the verse 7, I think. Sorry. It's in the verse 15. And if a woman has a long hair, it is unesteemed to her because the long hair has been given to her over against a veil. So somehow connecting the hair with authority, with coverage, because of the head. So what's the point that I want to make, just to complement what you said? What's the whole situation that we see here is a woman that was captive. She's coming from from a battle, from a war. We don't know what was the situation of her father, if he was married or he was in the house with the father. The coverage she had
from somebody else.
And maybe was removed because they were killed. And actually, if we take a look in the same passage here, is that she needed to mourn her father and her mother. So somehow is saying that the mourning is because they were dead. So she had no coverage. So in the way that I see this is that she needed to remove her hair. It's like removing her previous coverage.
Beautiful.
And in order to bring new hair again, like connecting to the new coverage that she was coming from the new man.
Yeah, and usually the clothes were provided by the previous person who was in church.
And actually that's a beautiful picture as well, because if we remember the case of Joseph. Joseph was in prison for years, many years. I think it was 16 years according to the book of Yasher. So, when the Pharaoh was calling him in order to interpret the dream, they took Joseph, they washed him, and they provided new clothes.
Yeah.
It's like you are not more a captive, you are not more a prisoner, you are a free man. So in the same thing, if we apply exactly the same parallel, we're talking about the same thing. It's just changing the clothes. What Yahushua is going to do with all of us is going to change our clothes. He's going to give us white robes from linen. And what's going to do with this flesh? He's going to give us a new body. Sorry that I'm hitting too hard. Just for them to hear. He's going to give us a new cloth in order to be 3 people. So I think all of
Clean
this
and without wrinkles.
exactly. This is a new picture of that is representing authority, and for me, from my point of view, this is also connected with the Nasir, the Nazarite vow. Because in the Nazarite vow, or the Nasir in Hebrew vow, they needed not to cut their hair; they needed to let it grow. And remember the story of Samson. At the moment they cut his hair, he lost
Yeah, like the power that he received from
the
Yahweh.
power that he received from
So
the spirit of YaHuWaH. It's like being removed from the authority of the coverage. So when we see what they needed to do as part of closing the vows, that they needed to shave completely. How a person that is shaving completely looks like
a new baby.
a new baby. It's like a new beginning, like being born again. So I think all of those points somehow are connected to this passage. It's just a woman that is coming from captivity, being born again with a new coverage under above her head. So let's continue. Verse 15. When a man has 2 wives, one loved and the other unloved, and they have borne him children, both the loved and unloved, and the firstborn son is of her who is unloved, then it shall be, on the day he makes his son to inherit his possessions, he is not allowed to treat the son of the beloved wife as firstborn in the face of the son of the loved, who is truly the firstborn, but he is to acknowledge the son of the loved wife and the firstborn by giving him a double portion of all that he has, for he is the beginning of his strength. The right of the firstborn is his. Any comments?
Well, it looks like the story when Jacob and the sons. He has 2 wives, and we know, well, because it is written in that way, that he loved more Yahusha. And we can deduct that because he said that it was the son of his old age. And I think also because it was from the woman that he loved. But when he gave the blessing, he was recognizing that Reuben was the first.
But he lost it.
Yeah, because it was a behavior that he has, that it was not according to the...
Yeah. And we have a debate, we don't have a full certainty of this, what I'm going to say, is that usually we believe that the firstborn right was passed from the Reuben to Shimon to Levi and finally to Judah, to Yehuda. Well, we believe that maybe it wasn't like that. Maybe we believe that the firstborn right was passed from Reuben to Joseph, because Joseph was the firstborn of Rachel. And then this is why we think like this, is because of the blessings that we see in the book of Bereshit, chapter 48, I think, or something like that. That it's a lot of blessing that he's giving to Joseph, and somehow connected to what is written here. Now, I fully agree with you that we see a beautiful example here in the life of Yaakov with Leah and Rachel about this passage. But also, this one is serving as a beautiful example of what the wise Shaul, Paul, was talking in the book of Galatians when he was talking about Jerusalem. And this is related to the tale of 2 women. And I was speaking about this in the last day series, in the part 12, that is have 4 part 12 actually, A, B, C, and D. It's a very long one, but it's a beautiful one. And I'm talking in that video study about the tale of 2 women. And this is exactly what Shaul was receiving, the wisdom that is coming from YaHuWaH Elohim to understand this tale of 2 women in relation to the identity of the woman of Revelation chapter 12, that is talking about Jerusalem having 2 somehow double roles. Is the Jerusalem that is now here on earth, and second, the Jerusalem from above, the barren one, the new Jerusalem that is the mother of us all. So here in this passage somehow is YaHuWaH is directing us to understand what he's talking about. And even when we see, even in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 23, we see exactly the same thing when YaHuWaH is saying that, referring to Jerusalem and Shomeron as two daughters in connection to this passage. So we need to study these things in order to understand what YaHuWaH is trying to teach us. I know these kind of things are difficult to understand.
Yeah, because we have a different mindset.
And
It's
somehow
not the
are
mindset of the
Exactly, and somehow are controversial. We need to realize that. But YaHuWaH wants to teach us something. And if we're going to believe in his word, we need to believe in each one of the words, understanding what he wants to teach us. And in this way, there is a beautiful picture and foreshadow of what YaHuWaH is doing with his people and with his beloved. His beloved is Jerusalem, and the daughter and the children of his beloved, that is all of us, the remnant, is exactly what we see in the chapter 12 of that study. So let me move on. So it says, verse 18, when a man has a wayward and rebellious son who is not listening to the voice of his father or the voice of his mother, and who, when they have disciplined him, does not listen to them, then his father and his mother shall take hold of him and bring him out to the elders of his city, to the gate of his city, and shall say to the elders of his city, this son of ours is wayward and rebellious. He is not listening to our voice. He is a glutton and a drunkard. Then all the men of his city shall stone him to death with stones. Thus you shall purge the evil from your midst, and let all Israel hear and fear.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
Well, I was telling you that as children we have to be this heart of listening to our mother and father, because they are going to be used like the connection, especially when we are young. They are going to have words of wisdom, even though when we don't know, but they already have this path, and Abba is going to use them to teach us in the good path. And also what I saw, it was that the rebellion, gluttony, and drunkenness, those are sins that could take you to worse sins. Like today we can, I don't know, watch in the news some kind of cases that are really horrible. Cases like even the own children are, I don't know, hitting, striking their parents. Some other cases they are, I don't know, killing them.
Are you trying to say that they're acting in compassion?
In this case, yes.
Because when we see it, with our eyes, so how come the parents can bring him to be killed?
Yeah, but they are killing maybe this body, but they are, I don't know, they are fighting because of his spirit, his eternal life, not the temporary.
And this
one.
is exactly what Yahushua said, don't be afraid of those that can kill the body.
Yeah.
Fear the one that is YaHuWaH Elohim, that is able to kill you in Gehenna. And he was referring to the second death. So I do believe, like you, is that they were acting in compassion because in order to save his soul.
They tried to teach him. They tried to through punishment, and when you have like two opportunities, if we can say so. So at the end, they take them to the judge, and then they have to say, and they are the witnessing.
Yeah.
They are witnessing that this is a rebellious son. Imagine how terrible is that. But it's because they love him. It's not because and I think that maybe, I don't know, more people even is going to be there. So.
Yeah, one thing I agree with you. I think, Yahushua said that the weightier matters of Torah, one of them is compassion. And what we see here in this passage is that this was the last resource of the parents after they were trying to teach and guide this man, because we need to understand that we are not talking about a child. We're not talking about a boy. We're talking about a grown man. How we can understand this? Can you imagine a child being a drunkard? I don't think so. This is happening from teenagers
Mm.
and above.
But at that age, they're responsible. They know the difference
Exactly.
between what is tahor and what is tameh, what is good and bad. So,
So this is a grown man,
mm,
and they're trying to correct his ways, and they are acting in compassion in order to correct the way. But the last resort is to save him for the second death, and that's why they're bringing to the judge, in a public judgment, because this is exactly what they're doing it. They're bringing to the judge and to the elders. So, we have other examples that I was bringing in the past when we did this portion. We're not going to go to the scripture, but we're going to talk about them. One example is Eli in the story of Samuel. Eli has two sons that were serving as priests, and they were doing totally the opposite of the righteousness of their duty. They were taking advantage of their position in order to be pushy on the people and to try to take more of what they needed to take as priests. But what Eli did, he did nothing. He just rebuked them very softly, but he did nothing according to what is written here in Torah. What happened in this story is that the two of them were killed after the prophecy received by Shmuel, and he was telling this prophecy to Eli. Both of them were killed in battle. And when Eli heard about this situation, he fell down on the chair and he broke his neck and died. So, there is a huge responsibility. We can see this in two angles. First angle, from the son point of view. The son is commanded by Torah, and he needs to respect his father and his mother. That's the only way that we are going to prolong our days. This is part of the 10 commandments, the 10 words. But also we can take a look from the other side, from the side of the parents. Parent has a responsibility over their children. There is a responsibility that is going up to the year 20, because from 20 years old onward, according to the word, each one of us is responsible of our lives, especially men. Women are under the coverage of the father or under the coverage of their husband. We were just talking about that in the previous example in the same chapter. So the responsibility mainly is for men at the age of 20. They are going to be responsible of their actions. And even though, women are under the coverage of the father or the husband, also they are responsible of their actions. But they have let me put it this, and kind of easy way, because, the father or the coverage, the one providing the coverage, can nullify anything. And this is written in the book of Numbers, chapter 30, about the vows. But the parents, anyways, had the responsibility in order to guide their children in the right way. This is an extreme action, but we see what Eli didn't do, and that's why it was producing death. And I think there was another example, but I don't remember.
yeah.
Do you remember?
No. Yeah, we were talking about that yesterday, but I don't remember.
But anyways, the important thing is that we need to remove sin.
And from the very beginning.
From the very beginning.
That's the issue.
And this is exactly what we need to do, and that's the bottom line of this is removing sin, removing leaven. And that's why when we were talking last week, is that we need to learn how to judge. We need to learn how to judge with right rulings, with mishpatim. And actually, this entire portion is full of mishpatim, with clear example of live examples.
Yeah, very practical.
Practical
because it's the
examples.
Day, from day to day.
So what we need to do is we need to learn to judge according to what YaHuWaH was instructing. We need to take a look in the log in our eye first, instead of looking into a splinter in the eye, or rather, maybe it was in the other way around, but I don't remember. You understand me. And we mentioned this last week. What he's trying to say is that we need to learn how to judge us first, taking a look in the mirror of Torah in each one of these. And as soon as we are able to judge us in the mirror of Torah, we are going to learn how to judge rightly, not by appearance, by Torah. and then we're going to be able to help others with the wisdom we have received in order to help them to judge themselves. So these are the kind of things that we need to learn, okay? So the last thing is saying the following in the verse 22 and 23. And when a man has committed a sin worthy of death, then he shall be put to death, and you shall hang him on a tree. Let his body not remain overnight on the tree, for you shall certainly bury him the same day. For he who is hanged is a curse of Elohim, so that you do not defile the land of which YaHuWaH your Elohim is giving you as an inheritance. And you have good points on this one. So you start first.
I was telling you, because it says that kind of punishment, it was only for people who was committing sins of death. And we have a list of sins of death. It's not every single sin. There are some. So I think that it's a very good homework if we can try to look in the scripture, because there are several, to put a list of the sins that are taking us to the death. It's not only to this death. All those sins are related to our eternal death. So that is why we have to be so conscious when we are going to look for them.
Yeah, let me make a comment, because I saw a question from Yerach, and this is important. She was asking, so what do we do today in regards to our children? And I think the answer from Camila and from Willem are right on point. Is that, we are not in the kingdom. These are in the kingdom. And what we need to do is to deliver them to YaHuWaH. There is even other alternative, and we see in the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 16, I think, is that, or 6, is then when they find a man committing whoring, and the type of whoring that is not known among the nations, it is written like that, they finally, Shaul is saying, okay, deliver him. If he doesn't want to stop committing whoring, deliver him to Shatan. So we have two alternatives: to go in the way of Shaul, and we know that Shatan is not able to act by himself.
Yeah.
He needs to receive the authorization of Abba, and we know this from the book of Job. So what we need to do is to deliver them to YaHuWaH. And to pray for them continually, in the same way that Job was praying for his children in the first few chapters.
And we know, even them, they were killed.
Yes.
Because they were doing stuff that it was...
For sure, we want the best for our childs and children. So that's why, we have been trying, and the last is to deliver them to YaHuWaH and to continue praying for them. Okay? Okay, sorry. So you can provide a few examples of what are not all of them, just take one of them. What are examples of sins of death?
Killing people.
Okay.
Kidnap or selling somebody.
Okay. But I think this is a special type of kill.
It's when you kill, with
intention. Just lying in wait. It's just to kill somebody.
It's not an accidental kill.
It's not an accidental kill. And I think it's not the moment to go into that rabbit trail, but I think when you are because you are protecting yourself, that also not the type of killing that is saying here.
Yeah.
So when you're killing purpose with the hatred, this is the kill.
Yeah. Profaning the Shabbat. Profane the Shabbat is also a sin of death.
And we have an example: the man that was taking the stick. At the end,
that is and also offer the children to Moloch, to curse the parents or hitting them.
Okay.
Adultery, all the sex with the unknown. How do you say that? That they are not out. They are the
whoring. You're talking about whoring, that basically is sexual intercourse
with the homosexuality, with the wife of the mother, and I don't know.
So the connection you want to make is that basically this instruction about the man to be hung on the tree is only related to sin of death, because this is exactly what is written: sin worthy of death.
Yeah. So these are the ones that are spirits and mediums blaspheme the name of YaHuWaH. Violation in the field, Yeah, and adultery.
Adultery,
Yeah,
that is a
that
kind of
is-
whoring as well,
yeah.
and we will talk about that in the next chapter.
So all of them. And what I was telling you is that when somebody is dead, at that same moment is when the putrefaction process is started.
That's a good point, actually. You told me yesterday.
Yeah. So what is going to happen if that person is hung on the tree during all the night? That's why he was asking to take these people from there and buried them. Because they're being contaminating the air, polluting that. And maybe if somebody was walking by or I don't know, if rain comes down, that is going to be contaminating even all the surface.
Yeah, is
So-
it letting
The
air that we are breathing
breathing
somehow
is going
is,
to be-
is defiled.
Yeah. And imagine, and that's why it's so important to take care about our bodies and everything. It's not only with the thing that we eat, it's also with the thing that we breathe, the things that we see, that we hear, everything. And I think that they work in a very, we cannot see them, they're particles,
Yeah.
but they are contaminating all the rest.
Yeah.
So imagine if somebody is doing this kind of sin, that kind of sin is even in the cells of that
Yeah.
person. So that's why I think that it was important to bury them.
And absolutely, we see here the connection, and we are not going to talk in the details, but is written in the book of Galatians is that YaHuWaH himself became himself accursed
Ah, yeah.
for us.
Yeah, because he didn't deserve that kind of death.
He
And
was not committing, he was without sin,
Yeah,
and for the same reason, without any sin of death,
yeah,
and he was killed
yeah.
with this death,
And yeah,
becoming a curse. Why? In order to save you and save me and save us and save all the generation of Israel, and not only the generations of Israel, is to provide salvation for the entire world.
yeah.
So yeah, it's true, and it's important what we're talking about, the practical things, but also we need to remember the spiritual application of this. How YaHuWaH himself provided his body, his life, in order to die for us, to give us an opportunity to enter through the door that is himself the door into the kingdom of YaHuWaH. So if he, and this is important for what's coming next, if he was willing to give his life under this punishment without deserving, how come we are going to continue committing sin? He gave his life instead of ours. How can we continue living in sin? We cannot. It is written in the book of Hebrews, I think, is that basically we are making almost invalid, and we are the, I don't know how to say pisotear. It's just to step
Yeah.
over,
Yeah.
step over of the offering of YaHuWaH. And it's not going to be an additional offering.
It's only that
It's only one.
one.
So it's up to us, again, to judge ourselves and to let YaHuWaH to guide us in that judgment in order to uncover if we are committing any sin. And this is something we need to do, taking a look, as we were saying last week, in our whole story, lifetime story so far. Just to take a look and to look ourselves into the mirror of Torah and ask YaHuWaH not to be ignorant anymore. Just to understand if we are committing any sin. Just to have the understanding and the wisdom in order to remove sin from us. So we need to analyze sins from the past and from the present. And we need to make sure that we are not committing any sin in the future in order to honor the offering of YaHuWaH HaMashiach. Okay? Let's move on, chapter 22. It's your turn.
Yeah. When you see your brother's ox or his sheep straying away, you shall not hide yourself from them. Return them to your brother without fail. And if your brother is not near you, or if you do not know him, then you shall bring it to your own house, and it shall be with you until your brother seeks it. then you shall return it to him. And so you do with his donkey, and so you do with his garment, and so you do with whatever your brother loses, which he has lost and you have found. You are not allowed to hide yourself.
So this is a very
Yeah.
practical. It's
Yeah.
the loss of found.
Lost and
you
found,
know,
we can only find things, we can keep them until the person who is the owner is going to appear, and we have to keep them.
are we keeping something that maybe was from somebody else in the past? I don't know. It's something that we need to ask all of us. And maybe we're doing it. We need to ask the Ruach to remind us and to do the right thing.
I don't know if this is applicable or not. I was talking with my sister and she was telling me this kind of perspective. She thinks like as a mother, the parents are like a keeper of the spirit that they are going to receive, but they are not of them. They are just a keeper for a time until the owner of those spirits is going to come. So sometimes when they lose some children, in some cases, is when the owner is take them back. So I thought that it was maybe something like can give you or provide you kind of shalom in your heart when you have to deal with this separation that are before the time that you were expected.
It's a beautiful thought.
Mm.
So this is practical thing is that we need to learn. I think there is a spiritual application here, but I don't see it clearly yet. But Shaitan is the one that is a thief.
Oh, well, yeah, he's a thief. Yeah.
So he doesn't want to return what belongs to the right owner.
Yeah. When you see your brother's donkey or his ox fall down on the way, you shall not hide yourself from them. Help him raise them without fail.
Here there is a spiritual application,
Yeah,
and actually
and that was beautiful.
we can talk about the practical thing, and you were bringing this example that is a good one. You can mention it
No, because
about the car.
yeah, because usually when the donkeys are related with transportation in the past. So today, what is happening? If somebody needs to, or it's having a problem, maybe we see a lot of people driving, and we see somebody who is complicated in the driveway. Sometimes we are in a hurry or something, but it's saying that we have to go and help them. And maybe we don't know, but only with this little help, maybe it can be an opportunity of doing something.
Absolutely.
And receiving a help is, I think, in
And
those
it's something that is
cases,
bringing fullness on inside
Yeah.
as well by doing the right thing.
Yeah. So, and you were telling me about the
The other one, is in the you are more the worldly and I'm the spiritual. Is it what you're saying?
Yeah.
Just kidding. So let me do something here. This one. Okay. You didn't save anything.
No.
No, okay, for some reason. So let's go to the book of Luke, chapter 14, 3 and 6. So it says the following, and see in the from 2 onward. There was a certain man before him suffering from dropsy. This is YaHuWaH HaMashiach on the Shabbat. And Yahushua responded and spoke to those learned in the Torah and the Pharisees, saying, is it right to heal on the Shabbat? But they were silent. Nobody wanted to talk. So taking hold of him, he healed him and let him go. And to them he said, which of you having a donkey or an ox that has fallen into a pit shall not immediately pull him out on the Shabbat day? And they were unable to answer him regarding this matter. So he was doing exactly the same example of the portion that we are talking about, providing healing, is to go into the ones that are falling down into the pit, that are going astray, and try to rescue them. Those ones that are being bound by sickness. And let me find the other one. Is to bring the healing from the healing hand of YaHuWaH HaMashiach. So there's another beautiful one that is related to the same. It's in the previous chapter, 13. It says, verse 12. And this is a woman that was weakening, and we were talking with the brothers and sisters we met in our visit to the States. We were using this example. The woman was bent over because of an evil spirit. So sometimes sickness are related to evil spirits.
Weakening. So
And it
she
is
was weak.
weakened. She
Oh,
was weak
weak.
and what bent over.
Yeah, weak. Yeah.
Yes.
We're going to touch that at the end.
So it says, and Yahushua seeing her, called her near and said to her, Woman, you are loosened from your wickedness. And he laid his hands on her, and immediately she was straightened up and praised Elohim. You know, we need to seek the Ruach in order to be able to do these kind of things. And I'm gonna put a parenthesis. Last night we were taking a look in a video in YouTube of a demons manifestation while people were preaching. And it was sad, so sad, because they were showing at least 2 or 3 cases, and they were preaching, they were sharing the good news of the kingdom. But one grown man in one of the cases was all the time shouting, even destroying the things that they were having close to the 2 men that were sharing the good news. And there was another one that somehow I remember something that happened to us the last day of our visit in the States. Is that a young man was also sharing the good news.
And it was a little girl.
A little girl of 12 years old.
No, I think that it was like 7, 8.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay,
Or
between
maybe- yeah.
8 and 10, I would say.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
And this girl was shouting, shut up, all the time. All the time that this young man was sharing the good news. And it was part of my prayer this morning. Is that has been part of my prayer since some time already. We need to ask YaHuWaH to give us of the power of the Ruach HaKodesh in order to act as the disciples. Evil spirits are in this world. We cannot deny. It's just a matter to see with the spiritual eyes and not with our physical eyes. In our case, what happened in the last trip in the last day of our trip was a small child of 3-4 years old. Now, I don't know if we already told this, but I was telling you, it's a spiritual battle. It's an evil spirit. And later on we have a physical confirmation that was an evil spirit. So what the disciples were doing in the book of Acts, they were just waiting, but in one moment they were rebuking the evil spirits. And we have so many examples in the book of Acts. Is the moment that we need to act in the same power. Is the moment that we need to ask YaHuWaH to give us the same power in order to have the fight against those evil spirits. It would be so, beautiful to see the same video we saw yesterday. Those brothers speaking under the inspiration of the Ruach HaKodesh, rebuking the evil spirit with power, and to see the evil spirit departing from the people. We need to have that desire in our heart. So we have that power coming from above, from YaHuWaH Elohim. So let me continue with the example here about the ox. So it says in the 14, but the ruler of the congregation responded much displeased that Yahushua had healed on the Shabbat, said to the crowd, there are 6 days on which men should work. So come and be healed on them, and not on the Shabbat day. Then the master answered him and said, hypocrite, does not each one of you on the Shabbat loosen his ox or his donkey from the stall and lead it away to water it? And this one being a daughter of Abraham, whom Satan has bound, look, for 18 years, should she not be loosened from his bond on the Shabbat? So YaHuWaH, speaking through Yahushua, is giving us exactly the same condition. Is that this is for animals in the practical sense, but also in the spiritual sense is that we need to help the people. We need to bring the healing hand of Yahushua. We need to bring restoration to those that are being lost. So let me go to chapter 22. Go ahead. Verse 5.
And 5. A woman does not wear that which pertains to a man, nor does a man put on a woman's garment. For whoever that does this is an abomination to YaHuWaH your Elohim. And I think about that, what they're trying to do with the little children, with all these schools that they are doing right now, that they're trying to
Absolutely.
convince them, no, you're free to use whatever you want.
There is an overflow of this passage in our times.
Sorry?
It's an overflow of what is written in this passage in our times. We can see it all over the place.
All over the place. And what is happening? It says it's an abomination to YaHuWaH your Elohim. And I think that is opening the door for what we are seeing today. A lot of people who they cannot even define what they are. If they're woman, man, because they are trying to do and to try things that they are not for them. So they are opening doors for evil spirit.
Yeah.
So that is
That's a
what
good
it
point.
is.
These kind of things are opening doors. If we
Yeah.
don't follow the righteousness of Torah, we are opening doors for evil spirit to
It's the same
get
like
in.
medium, and
It's exactly the
it's
same thing.
the same with idols, because those are like portals for them.
Absolutely.
Well, now this is more beautiful. When you come upon a bird's nest along the way, in any tree or on the ground, with young ones or eggs, with the mother sitting on the youngs or on the eggs, do not take the mothers with the young. Let the mother go without fail, and take the young for yourself, so that it might be well with you, and that you shall prolong your days. I imagine that, and I think that we have shared this before, but usually what happened, and some scientific, they can also confirm that, that if you take the little chicks when they are little, if you take it for you just to play or things like that, and you want to start doing, I don't know, providing food, what is going to happen after that if you're leaving, that the mother is going to abandon them because they were already having some smell from somebody else. So we have to be very careful about that, because it's that relationship with the mother and with the babies, with the young. But it says if you want to keep them, because you want to keep the youngs, it says first you have to how can I say this? To let the mother go. Yeah. So, and that is a sign of compassion, because if you're going to take them after that, what is going to avoid that she's not there? She's not going to be a witness, or she's not going to see that their little children or little chicks were taken by someone, and she couldn't do anything. She was not able to save them according to her point of view.
Yeah.
But that means that you are going to raise them. You are going to take care of them. So that is what I see.
Yeah, I think I fully agree with you. There's just one thing that I want to add from the spiritual point of view. Is what Yahushua said in Matthew 23. When he was talking about Jerusalem. He said, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, killing the prophets and stoning those who are sent to her. How often I wish to gather your children together, the way a hen gathers her chickens under her wings, but you would not. So what's the parallel that I want to make? So Yahushua is referring to Jerusalem as a mother, as a bird, okay? And the children, the eggs, as the young one. So what's going to happen at the end times? He's going to protect the mother in order not to see what's going to happen with the children. Again, in reference to what is written in the chapter 12 of the book of Revelation. The woman is going to be protected in the wilderness, it says. While the remnant of her seed, they are going to go through persecution.
And to trials and suffering.
So I think I see a foreshadow here in this chapter. It's basically letting the mother flee. So not to see what's going to happen with the eggs or the young ones.
With the young ones. Well,
So
it's with the young ones.
It's kind of foreshadow of the end times as well.
Yeah.
That's it.
And when you build a new house, then you shall make a parapet for your roof, so that you do not bring bloodkill on your house when one falls from it. So it's make a kind of protection from the
Protection.
house.
Mhm.
Yeah, for the house.
What it means for us, this is a house. We need to have a protection.
Our protection.
The
build
entire
one-
assembly
build
is
one.
also a house.
Mm,
We need to have a protection.
mm,
And who is the one bringing that hedge of protection is
Is-
YaHuWaH.
mm,
So, I think this is so relevant about the protection we need,
mm.
how we need to ask for it.
Do not sow your vineyard with different kind of seeds, lest the yield of the seed which you have sown and the fruit of your vineyard be defiled.
It's a practical example, but also somehow this is talking related to adultery.
Yeah.
And we'll see in the next chapter how this is applicable.
Yeah.
Is the seed in a soil, in a field, mixing seeds,
Yeah. And sometimes
they can defile the soil, the land.
yeah. Do not plow with an ox and a donkey together. And I think that is because they have a different pace while they're walking. They have different strength. So yeah.
I have a picture.
And they can see it? Yeah.
No, they can see it now.
Okay. So that is what's going to happen. One is going to want to, usually the ox is the one who has a lot of strength, and the donkey usually doesn't want to go where you take it.
Yes.
So he's going to be stubborn, and they're going to cause a lot of harm for themselves.
I'm going to provide the same example that I provided in the past, because I think these some things that we need to remind all the time. This is what Paul was talking about, being unequally yoked. And this is a perfect example. This is what he's talking about, the portion now.
And now it's showing two different kind of animals, because
Absolutely.
if the ox go, I think, with the cow, I think that the cow is going to follow because it's the same species. I don't know.
The
I think
point,
that is,
the point is that both of them are different size
yeah,
first. So they have a different pace. They're not gonna walk in the same way.
And
One is going to push for the one side, the other one is going to push for the other side. They're not gonna be able to progress.
they have different behavior.
They have different behaviors and so on. So what could happen is that the yoke can be broken.
Yeah.
Can be broken. So if we apply this to our walk with YaHuWaH, because YaHuWaH was the one inviting us to take his yoke because it's more light. So if we are not following, if we're like the donkey, and we are not following YaHuWaH HaMashiach, we're not going to be able to progress. And even we can have the risk of the yoke to be broken. And what is the representation of that? Is that we are going to go astray, and we're gonna lose our opportunity for salvation. So, and this is so important, because when is talking about being an equally yoke, he's talking about marriage. It's not only marriage, and this is something we need to learn and understand. Is
every relationship.
Every relationship, business relationship, marriage relationship, friendship relationship.
The relationship that we have with Allah.
Absolutely. Because if we are doing business with an unbeliever that is going totally astray of the word of YaHuWaH, he has not respect, okay, we are joking ourselves with unequally. So it's not only marriage. We need to think that this is applicable to any type of relationship. So that's why we need to be so careful. This is exactly what YaHuWaH was telling Israel. Don't go and make covenant with the 7 nations. If not, they're gonna lead you astray.
Yeah.
Don't give your sons to their daughters, not take their daughters to your sons, and so on. Actually, not give your daughters to their sons, not take their daughters to your sons.
Yeah.
Because it's going to produce exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Making the yoke being broken or being led astray. Sorry. Okay.
And do not put on a garment of different kinds of wool and linen together.
Okay.
Well, in the past we have heard that they have different energy and everything. So
Yeah, and now everything is coming
and
from
and
polyester
everything
and so
is
on.
now everything is mixed.
Yes, we need to be
Mm.
picky as well on what clothes we are wearing.
Mm. And I think that is also a representation of receiving a kind of teaching from one side and teaching from other side that are contradicting. We cannot be always taking from here, from there, from all the places, because we know that we have to be covered by the garments that our Ava is giving us, not the one that are being provided by the world.
Mhm.
And when any make tassels on the four corners of the garments with which you cover yourself.
Yeah,
Well, I'm
that's
still
it.
yeah, that's it, sis.
Mhm.
I still need my other two.
Mhm.
When any man takes a wife and shall go into her and shall hate her, and shall make abusive charges against her, and bring an evil name on her, and said, I took this woman, and when I came to her I did not find her a maiden. Then the father and mother of the young woman shall take and bring out the proof of the girl's maidenhood to the elders of the city at the gate. And the girl's father shall say to the elders, I gave my daughter to this man as wife, and he hates her. And see, he has made abusive charges against her, saying, I did not find your daughter a maiden, and yet these are the proofs of my daughter's maidenhood. And they shall spread the garment before the elders of the city. And the elders of that city shall take that man and punish him, and fine him 100 pieces of silver, and give them to the father of the young woman, because he has brought an evil name on a maiden of Israel, and she is to be his wife. He is not allowed to put her away all his days. But if the matter is true, that the girl was not found a maiden, then they shall bring out the girl to the door of her father's house, and the men of her city shall stone her to death with the stones, because she has done wickedness in Israel, to whore in her father's house. Thus you shall purge the evil from your midst.
So before going into the details, let me put a disclaimer. And I think these are the type of things that are a bit controversial, but it's so important that we understand the word clearly. Okay, so what's the disclaimer? And it's related to looking our stories into the mirror of Torah to understand what if we are still in sin or not. Okay, why this is so important and what's the disclaimer? If we go to the book of Corinthians, First Corinthians chapter 6, verse 9 and 10, it says the following: Do you not know that the unrighteous shall not inherit the reign of Elohim? Do not be deceived, neither those who whore, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor effeminate, nor homosexuals, nor thieves, nor greedy of gain, nor drunkards, nor revilers, nor swindlers shall inherit the reign of Elohim. It's serious. We need to analyze ourselves in order to understand that we are not in any of this sin, because if we are committing this type of sin in the past, somehow we are still committing it, we put at risk our inheritance to be part of the kingdom of Elohim. So understanding what is adultery, understanding what's whoring, understanding, what is being idolater, understanding thieves, and we were talking just recently, the loss of found. If we're keeping something that is not ours and the owner appear, this is becoming a thief. Greedy of gain, we are going to talk in the next chapter, I think, when it's talking about the interest. Drunkards, we were talking about the rebellious son. And this could be also a spiritual thing. We need to understand, and we cannot spiritualize everything, okay? We need to understand that this thing is having two applications. Physical application in our day-to-day lives, and a spiritual application that is also part of our day-to-day life. So both of them are so important, and that's why what Yahushua was instructing us to take a look and judge ourselves is what we need to do always, day by day. So with that disclaimer, let's go back. And by the way, this passage is also repeated in the book of Galatians and also in the book of Revelation. That those are really important. So we were in this one. So what it's talking about is a new marriage. The woman is a virgin,
Oh yeah.
right? And what's happening is that it's like he decided, because he hated her, he decided to go to court and to put a public suit. Suit?
I don't know how to
Lawsuit.
Yeah.
So just to demand her that, he was lied,
An accusation.
an accusation that she's not a virgin. Instead of acting first in compassion, and we're going to talk about that in the next in the chapter 24, I think, is that we are commanded to act in compassion. And let me give you a beautiful example. This is in the Brit Hadashah. Joseph and Miriam, or Mary. Joseph thought that Miriam was committing exactly what is written over here. What was the punishment? And we were reading this, is that if the matter is true, that the girl was not found a maiden, is basically she was committing whoring in her father's house. It's not my words, it's what is written over here, is that then they shall bring out the girl to the door of her father's house, and the men of her city shall stone her to death with stone, because she was done wickedness in Israel to whore in her father's house. So it's not my words, it's what is written. So Joseph thought, when he saw Miriam being pregnant, that she was not a virgin and she was committing whoring. What Joseph wanted to do, and it is written that he was a tzaddik, a just man. She didn't want to do a public accusation, as we see over here doing it. He was acting in compassion, and she wanted to give a certificate of divorce, so to avoid the punishment over Miriam to die because of that. So the punishment is related to a public accusation, but we are commanded to act first in compassion. Okay? So I think this is also having some spiritual application. And what are the spiritual application? Is a relationship between YaHuWaH and the women on chapter 23 of Ezekiel, that is accusing those two women of whoring. And in this is Oholibah, Ohliah and Oholibah. I don't remember exactly, but you can go to the book of Ezekiel. Let's go quickly, just to remember the names. Oholah and Oholibah, and it's talking about the two houses, the house of Yehuda and the house of Ephraim or Joseph, that they were committing whoring all the time, even before he took them. So this is also a spiritual application, and exactly whoring is physical whoring, but also spiritual whoring. Okay? So let's move on.
Okay. The 22.
22?
Yeah.
Okay.
When a man is found lying with a woman married to a husband, then both of them shall die, both the man that lay with the woman and the woman. Thus you shall purge the evil from Israel. And this is different also from the previous one, because in the case before, if she was discovered that she was whoring before, she was going to receive the punishment of death. She was going to be stoned. And here the difference, if they are being found, both of them are going to be
So it's talking about adultery, adultery, and is involving a married woman.
Yeah.
And we have the case of what is written in the book of John, I think, when the Pharisees are coming to try Yahushua, and they were bringing just the woman.
Yeah. Not the two of them.
Not the two of them, because they caught the woman and a man committing adultery. And this is exactly when it says, when a man is found lying with a woman, married to a husband, the both of them shall die.
Yeah, and
So they caught them in the act,
yeah, yeah,
having sexual intercourse.
yeah.
So the commandment is that they needed to bring both of them in order to receive the punishment. What happened in the story of Yahushua? They were bringing just the woman. And that's why I believe Yahushua said, those that are free of sin, throw the first stone. Because Yahushua knew that they were committing sin in the very right moment. Because they were trying to bring the accusation and the punishment only in the woman and not bring in the man.
And maybe they also have some...
Absolutely, the sins from the
everybody
past,
does,
everything. But this is exactly in the same moment they were committing sin by not bringing the two of them.
When a girl who is a maiden is engaged to a husband, and a man finds her in the city and lies with her, then you shall bring them both out of the gate of the city, and shall stone them to death with the stones. The girl because she did not cry out in the city, and the man because he has humbled his neighbor's wife. Thus you shall purge the evil from your midst. So this is like an extension, because she was she was engaged. So
and again, this is a much deeper study that we don't have the time to do it here. So I'm gonna tell you what I have come to the understanding, and don't rely on my words. You need to do your own study and research these things. Okay, so what is marriage? Marriage, it has two steps. Is the first thing is the engagement, and the second step is to
when they are actually
consummate.
together, I don't know how to say that word.
Is when you
If somebody knows the word in Spanish, is consumar. Is
yes,
when they
it's just to fulfill the engagement by having a sexual relationship.
Yeah.
Those are the two steps. So when you are engaged, is related to a vow, a commitment. And look at this, and the first thing that we were talking at the beginning is the coverage. The woman is under the coverage of the father when she's single, and then the coverage is going consummate. Thank you, Yarash.
Okay, thank you.
Is going to the coverage of the man, and it needs to be an agreement between the two ones that are providing the coverage, and also an agreement from the women. Remember what happened with the story of Rebecca. She has to agree to go with the servant of Abraham. So both things, there needs to be an oath, exactly, Ayan. It's an oath between the two of them and also the woman. So that's the first step of the engagement. Then when the woman is going to live with the man, they are going to consummate
and she's
the
becoming
marriage,
the wife.
because she's becoming, it's already the wife at the beginning. But they're consummate by having a relationship, a sexual relationship, sexual intercourse. So at the moment the oath is given or is being committed in the engagement, she is going directly to be under the coverage of the man. So when it's under the coverage, even though that maybe they have not consummated the marriage by having a sexual intercourse, she belongs to a man. It's going to happen everything that is happening is going to be adultery. It's going to be adultery. That's why, the same story of Joseph and Miriam. They were in the engagement. They didn't have yet consummating the marriage by having sexual intercourse. That's why he was giving her a certificate of divorce, because it was already his wife, even though they have not yet reached the second step. So the same thing is happening here. Okay, where you are? Where are you?
Here in the 24th, and it reminds me about because it says that she did not cry in the city, because if she had cried, somebody would have appeared on her rescue. So that's the idea. And I remember about the story of Moshe, of Yahusef, when the wife of the Pharaoh was trying to, in the other way, she was playing the victim, and she cried, so somebody was helping. But if a man finds the girl who is engaged in the field, and the man takes hold of her and lies with her, then only the man who lay with her shall die. So in this case, it's like a violation or something like that. And it's because she's in the field, so there are less people around.
In both cases are kind of a
Yeah.
violation.
Yeah.
Okay, but it is somehow induced in the word is that when it's in the city, she didn't cry.
Yeah.
If she cried,
Yeah. Somebody could have
she's
helped
saved.
her.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah, but here nobody maybe was around. So here in this case, she's kind of not guilty of what happened.
So an spiritual application of this, and we were talking about this last night.
But it continues here.
Okay.
Yeah,
go ahead.
but you shall do no matter to the girl. The girl has no sin worthy of death. For the matter is like a man who rises against his neighbor and murders him, a being, because it was his intention to
Yeah.
murder him. For he found her in the field, and she cried out, the engaged girl, but without anyone to save her. Yeah, now you can talk.
Yes. No, what I was saying is that's a spiritual application, and it's a kind of funny because it's providing the examples of being in the city or being in the field. So just with the fact that it's inducing that the girl didn't shout or cry out, is basically is that we have more options to commit sin when we're in the city because we are surrounded by sin. When we're in the field, it's less probable to commit sin. When we talk about spiritual whoring, because this is exactly, or spiritual adultery, when we're talking here.
Spiritual, yeah, okay.
Spiritual adultery. So if we're surrounded in the city, it's much easier to go astray because sin is is just
In every place, yeah.
it's
Everywhere.
just there. In the field, in the countryside, is different.
We're surrounded by nature, by
Yes.
the work of Abba.
And the other thing that is also important is that the crying out, in order to not receive the punishment, in order to receive salvation, we need to cry out. What we need to do, use our voice in order to cry out to YaHuWaH, in order to be saved. Everyone that is crying out to the name of YaHuWaH will be saved, it says in the book of Joel.
And maybe also that, well, I know that it doesn't say anything, but for instance, remember the story of Sarah and Abraham? When it was this Pharaoh who wanted to take her?
Yeah.
It was YaHuWaH who didn't allow him to do it. So
Correct.
maybe even if we are in a situation like that and if we pray, so he's going to send a help somehow.
Yep.
He's going to maybe to use somebody, or he's going to, I don't know, to that person who wanted to do something wrong against that he's going to be, I don't know, paralyzed, or he's going to faint, I don't know.
Yeah.
Something is going to happen. He has the power
That's
to do
why we
that.
need to cry.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a beautiful example in the same thing that it could be, in a physical application, but also in a spiritual applications that we need to cry out to Abba when we are in troubles, in problems.
Yeah. And when a man finds a girl who is maiden, who is not engaged, and he sees her and lies with her, and they are found out, then the man who lay with her shall give to the girl's father 50 pieces of silver, and she is to be his wife, because he has humbled her. He is not allowed to put her away all his days. A man does not take his father's wife, nor uncover his father's skirt.
So we have two examples. In the last one, we have the example of Reuben, what he committed with one of Jacob's wife.
Yeah,
It was with
the concubine, one of the concubines. Yeah.
the name.
I don't remember the name. Do you
At the end
remember?
was the four wives of
Yeah,
Jacob. It
I
was
think that it was Bilhah, no?
Bila.
Zilpah?
It was
Yeah,
Bila. I think it was Bila. And that's why he lost his firstborn right, And also we have the case of what is written in Corinthians. And let me go quickly. I think it's Corinthians 6.
The one that the Paul says, Shaul says.
I think it's 5. It is commonly reported that there is whoring among you, and did you know this is important? Whoring is a generic word that is including different type of sexual sins. Even adultery could be considered whoring.
It's part of that.
Yes, it's part of that. among you, and such whoring is not even named among the nations, so as one to have his father's wife.
Is
So it's exactly the example that we're talking here in the chapter 22. So we have the two examples here, the two testimonies in the word. Now, this one we were talking yesterday is a terrible situation somehow. Is someone is taken by force a woman, and just by taking by force he is demanded to stay with the woman. It's a tough one. Thinking in the future how this relationship is going to be. Now, it's my belief, and again, you need to do your own research on the word just to get to the same understanding or maybe a different understanding. We always need to be able for correction. Is that this girl is a maiden, is not engaged, so is still under the coverage of the father. And the father is the one that has to decide on what's going to happen. And let me show you one example. So is the father the one who is going to decide if this man is going to remain with his daughter or not?
yeah, because maybe he can say, yeah, okay, you have done this, I don't know, you repented, but I'm not going to give you
You
my
are
daughter.
gonna give me the 50 pieces of silver because that's the coverage for my
Yeah.
daughter.
But
or
I'm
what you
not
did.
going to give you my
Nothing
daughter.
is no free lunch in the word,
Yeah.
actually. So you need to pay for this, but I'm not gonna give you her. So let me go to the book of Shemot, chapter 22, verse 16. It says, and when a man entices a maiden who is not engaged, it's a very similar situation.
it's
The
the
only
same.
one that is he is not taking her
By
by
the
force,
force, is
but
enticed.
is seducing her somehow and lies with her, so they are committing whoring. He shall certainly pay the bride price for her to be his wife, the 50 pieces of silver.
Yeah, and he
And it
is,
says in the 17, if her father absolutely refuses to give her to him, he pays according to the bride price of maidens.
yeah.
So I do believe, and again, I can be totally wrong, but I do believe that even in this case of violation taken by force, is in the father decision if he's going to give his daughter to that man or not. But that man is not free of paying the 50 pieces of silver. Is why? Because the woman, the girl, is under the coverage of the father. The father is the one that is going to decide at the end. So I think it's important to connect these dots just to understand this picture. Now, spiritually talking, this is a beautiful picture as well, because a man that is going to take a strong man that is taken by force a woman. Who is the strong man? It could be an evil spirit. YaHuWaH was talking about that. You need to tie the strong man very tightly in order to remove it from the house.
Yeah.
So strong man, an evil spirit can come to you and can seize you. But who is the one that is going to save us is the Father. If we connect all the dots. Okay?
Yeah, I was thinking about the price because it says the price of the maiden, and maybe it's a different of the price of the wife.
There is always a price to pay. So let's move on, and we need to move faster.
Yeah, okay.
Because we are just in the chapter 22, and we are almost 2.5 hours here.
Okay.
Are you patient to stay here for 4 hours, maybe?
Okay.
Angela and Cristobal already have lunch, so we can continue.
Okay, we can continue. And
It's my turn.
yeah, if you want to read.
4 hours would be great. Okay, it says, he who is wounded by crushing of testicles or whose penis is cut off shall not then enter into the community of YaHuWaH. So we are talking about an eunuch. And you have some words to share about that, right? So an eunuch is forbidden to enter into the community of YaHuWaH. So how we can connect with what is written in the book of Isaiah, chapter? You look for it? 54?
50 something, I don't know.
No, 56.
I read it, but I didn't. It's about the Shabbat.
here when it's talking about the Shabbat. Guard in right ruling and do righteousness, for near is my deliverance to come and my righteousness to be revealed. Blessed is the man who does this, and the Son of Man who becomes strong in it, guarding the Shabbat, lest he profane it, and guarding his hand from doing any evil. And let not the son of the foreigner who has joined himself to YaHuWaH speaking, saying, YaHuWaH has certainly separated me from his people, nor let the eunuch say, Look, I am a dry tree. For thus said YaHuWaH to the eunuchs who guard my Shabbats, I have chosen what pleases me, and are holding unto my covenant. To them I shall give in my house and within my walls a place and a name better than that of sons and daughters. I give them an everlasting name that is not cut off. So it's like a contradictory, right? In the Torah, it says that they're not going to be able to enter into the community,
But
and
here
now is the
it's-
promise in YaHuWaH. Okay, if you keep the Shabbat and do what it pleased to me, you are going to be welcome.
So maybe there is an exception,
What's the exception?
is to love his Torah and keep the Shabbat, not profane
I think, in my belief,
it.
is that
If they
is the door. The door was open with Yahushua. Even in those cases that they were forbidden to enter into the community, if they follow what is written in the book of Yeshayahu, that they're going to keep the Shabbat, they're going to keep the righteousness of the kingdom, they are going to be transformed. Their bodies are going to be resurrected into a new body, or their bodies are going to be transformed if they're alive at the moment of the second coming of Yahushua. They are going to be transformed in a new body. So in that moment, they are going to be able to enter because they have been faithful, keeping the Torah of YaHuWaH, feeding YaHuWaH Elohim only. I think that's the answer. Okay? And I think the same is happening for the rest.
Yeah.
A mamzer shall not enter the community of YaHuWaH, even a 10th generation of his shall not enter the community of YaHuWaH. So who is a mamzer is written over there, who is born from a prohibited union.
And it was
Okay.
the example specifically here.
And this is an example, An Ammonite or a Moabite shall not enter the assembly of YaHuWaH.
They were the descendant of Lot.
Okay. I was going to say something, but it's better not to say.
Okay.
An Ammonite or a Moabite shall not enter the assembly of YaHuWaH. Even a 10th generation of them shall not ever enter the assembly of YaHuWaH. Yeah. Those are the descendants of Lot, and you have the example of Ruth, right?
Yeah, because she was
a Moabite.
she was a Moabite,
And she was on the 10th
after
generation.
of the
Okay.
she was after the punishment. Yeah.
Because they did not meet you with bread and water on the way when you came out of Mizraim, and because they hired against you Bilam, son of Beor, from Petor of Aram Naharaim, to curse you. But YaHuWaH your Elohim refused to listen Bilam, and YaHuWaH your Elohim turned the curse into a blessing for you, because YaHuWaH your Elohim loves you. Do not seek their peace nor their good all your days forever. Do not loathe an Edomite, for he is your brother. Do not loathe a Mizraim, because you were a stranger in his land. It's like loving our enemies, what Yahushua said. The children of the 3rd generation born to them do enter the assembly of YaHuWaH. So they have an expectation too. And that's why, in one of the book of the prophets saying, it's even calling Mizraim a son, and Ashur also a son.
Yeah.
So when the camp goes out against your enemies, then you should guard yourself from every evil matter. When there is a man among you who is not clean because of an emission in the night, then he shall go outside the camp. Let him not come into the midst of the camp. And it shall be at the approach of evening that he bathes with water. And when the sun sets, let him come into the midst of the camp. So, cleanness, to be pure, in order to be able to participate of the set apart things. And this is something that we need to analyze ourselves. If we want to be used by the Ruach, I think it is most probably, and this is my thinking, is not based on the word, it's my thinking. In order to be even more used by the Ruach of Elohim, we need to be clean. We need to be clean. That's why, when we're fasting sometimes, is when we are able to feel the presence of YaHuWaH even more. So I do believe that that's why was happening with the prophets of old. They were being clean, pure vessels. So this is something just to ponder, just to study about. So, and you should have a place outside the camp where you should go out. And you should,
not like today.
not like today that we have an inside actually. And you should have a sharp implement among your equipment. So they were having different type of equipments, you know, and they were having this sharp implement. And when you sit down outside, you know, this is the thing that I like from the words. Sometimes they are so visual. You sit down outside, you should be with it and turn and cover your excrement. So, you know, one thing that you need to be ready for the second Exodus,
You have to have.
you need to have your sharp implement, because we cannot lend or borrow the sharp implement from somebody else.
Yeah.
Okay, each one needs to have their sharp implement for the second Exodus. Okay.
No, that's something different, and it's interesting because now what we are doing, we are polluting the earth because all these, the desechos humanos, the human disposals and everything, are going to the water, and it says that it should be covered
To
by
the soil.
To the soil.
You know, many years ago already, I read a book of a man that put a new system that is called Humaner. It's how to take all the excrement and to compost it and to become nutrients for the soil. And you know, when I saw that book, I remember exactly what is written here, because at the end, you know, by depositing or putting all of this on the soil, it will become at the end nutrients for the soil. It will become, you know, with the way that the world, the earth is working with all the bacteria and so on, are basically transforming all of this in soil. So it's exactly what you said, and this is part of what he's writing in the book, is that we're polluting the world by sending everything to the water that is going to the sea. Though, you know, they have creating all these plants and the machinery in order to clean the water and so on, they are polluting the air anyways. You know, YaHuWaH is showing us a system of how to live in the ecosystem of his world and his earth in the right way. So maybe something that we should think, and especially, as I said, during the second Exodus. For YaHuWaH your Elohim walks in the midst of your camp to deliver you and give your enemies over you. Therefore your camp shall be set apart. You know, this body needs to be set apart. This is our camp, this is our temple now. So that he does not see unclean matter among you, and you shall turn away from you. That's why we need to seek daily to be clean, to be pure, by the blood of Yahushua in the stake, by the living water of the Ruach of Elohim in us, to become tahor, to become pure. Because YaHuWaH, our Elohim, wants to walk in the midst. And let me see what's the word midst here. It's the same word, kerev.
Get up.
He wants to walk in our kerev, you know,
In the midst.
in the midst of us. So that's why we need to be so careful on having a clean life, having a clean, a pure body. How we're going to be able to do that is by keeping the righteousness of the kingdom of YaHuWaH. You do not hand over to his master the slave who has escaped from his master to you. Let him dwell with you in your midst, in the place which he chooses within one of your gates. When it is pleasing to him, do not oppress him. You know, and you told me something that is totally true. He's living and running away because he was not having a good time.
He was being oppressed by the previous master. Yeah.
Okay, and this is also acting in compassion. None of the daughter of Israel is to be a cold prostitute, nor any of the sons of Israel be a cold prostitute. And this was so used in the worship of the nations, pagans. They were using prostitution as a kind of worship. I was reading about this again 1 or 2 weeks ago. So not in Israel. And this is, you know, prostitution is coming from the very beginning almost, and it's still here. You know, it's so important, especially when we talk about the pornography. This so, we are so bombarded by these kind of things that is going into inside our temple that we need to be careful on these kind of things, videos, movies, these kind of things, because somehow it's connected to all of this that we are talking about. And it's even talking is connected to whoring and adultery. Do not bring the harlot fee of a whore or the pay of a dog to the house, a dog being a prostitute, a male prostitute. Here is the note. To the house of YaHuWaH your Elohim for any vowed offering, for both of these are an abomination to YaHuWaH your Elohim. The whole thing is an abomination to YaHuWaH. Do not lend at interest to your brother, interest of silver, interest of food, or interest of whatever is lent at interest. To a foreigner you lend at interest, but to your brother you do not lend at interest, so that YaHuWaH your Elohim might bless you in all that you put your hand to in the land which you are entering to possess. So the banking system is interest all over the place.
Yeah, but this is talking about your brother. Who is your brother?
Yeah, but
So your
somehow
brother is someone who is following and who is keeping.
I
all
fully
the-
agree with you. But let's see in a broader picture that the system is totally corrupted.
Oh yeah, that's true.
The system is based on interest. All the capital system is based on interest. So it's not following even.
No.
Because if I want to borrow, give you money, maybe if I don't have it, but I want to help you, maybe I'm gonna take some money from somewhere else. Thing that I should not do according to what is written in the Mishle, Proverbs.
It says, yeah.
I'm not gonna have the hand or the mighty to help you. And to your point, you're absolutely right. This is talking about brother. That's why it's important to understand who is a brother. A brother is a bloodline brother, but it's also, according to YaHuWaH, the ones that are doing the commandments and the will of YaHuWaH Elohim. Those are our brothers. We cannot lend in interest. What we were reading in the book of Corinthians, those that are not gonna inherit the kingdom, is those that are looking for gain.
Yeah, the
Greedy for gain. Lending in interest.
Yeah.
Because they want to have more, not having compassion and following the righteousness of the word. When you make a vow to YaHuWaH your Elohim, do not delay to pay it, for YaHuWaH your Elohim is certainly requiring it of you, and it shall be seen on you. And I got an email this morning, I will answer it tomorrow, because I saw that there is a vow that is related to exactly this commandment, and I'm gonna act according to the word, because if it's a vow involved, you will have my answer, dear sister. Okay, you know whom I'm talking about. But when you abstain from vowing, it is not sin in you. That which has gone from your lips, you should guard and do. For you voluntarily vow to YaHuWaH your Elohim what you have promised with your mouth. When you come into your neighbor's vineyard, you shall eat to the satisfaction of your desire, but do not put any in a receptacle of yours. When you come into your neighbor's standing grain, you shall pluck the heads with your hand, but do not use a sickle on your neighbor's standing grain. We have the example of
the Talmidim, the disciples. Yeah,
they were
when they
taking
were
exactly
taking-
this. I think it was in Shabbat.
it was in Shabbat.
They wanted to eat. They were not bringing the sickle in order
Yeah.
to work. They were just taking the grains in order to eat.
Yeah.
How they did it, I don't know. Maybe they were soft yet, because
Maybe they
eating a grain.
They were doing, but I have eaten them.
Yes.
Yeah, when they are even hard and they are
But sometimes
delicious.
are very
Yeah,
hard.
you have a problem with your
Yes,
teeth. That's
But in one moment, one phase of the
Yeah.
growing of the head,
yeah.
it's a kind of
It's
a soft.
before.
So maybe that
before
was the
getting
moment.
hard, yeah.
Okay, so let's move on. We need to be careful on what we say, what we promise, what is going through our mouth. There's power in our voice and in the words. So we need to be extremely careful. Go ahead.
When a man takes a wife and shall marry her, then it shall be if she finds no favor in his eyes, because he has found a matter of uncoverness in her, and he shall write her a certificate of divorce and put it in her hand and send her out of his house. And if she left his house and went and became another man's wife, And the latter husband shall hate her and write her a certificate of divorce and put it in her hand and send her out of his house. Or when the latter husband dies, who took her to be his wife, then the former husband who sent her away is not allowed to take her back to be his wife after she has been defiled, for that would be an abomination before YaHuWaH. And do not bring sin on the land which YaHuWaH your Elohim is giving you as an inheritance.
Okay, this is again a controversial topic, and I'm not gonna go into the details because it will take hours to speak about this. But I will invite you to go ahead and study these matters in depth. Because again, remember the disclaimer that I put at the beginning of the reading the chapter 22. You know, adultery and whoring are sins that are gonna forbidden us to go into the kingdom. So that's why we need to analyze our own lives. What has been our story in regards of what is written over here. And we have a responsibility, each one of us, to study these matters just to understand what YaHuWaH wants to reveal to us in the physical application of this. There is a spiritual application that is a beautiful picture. I talked about that in last year, but we're gonna talk about it again because it's important to remind these kind of things from the spiritual application too. So what it's saying here, and let me start with the following. So it's talking about the marriage that needs to be end, and the only matter that is going to be able, valid matter to give her a certificate of divorce and to put her out of the house is a matter of uncoverness. Okay? Now, there is a note here in the ISR scripture, that is the one written over here, that the matter of uncoverness, according to the ISR, is a proof that she is not a maiden, indicating that she had previously been fornicating. So there are two things here. The first thing the one that we were reading in the chapter 22, is the man that is giving public accusation about a girl that was not found a maiden, and he opened a public accusation against her, and he needed to pay a punishment that we were just reading. But we were talking about the case of Joseph, that the girl is already under the coverage of the man. It's a way to do it with compassion, you know. Instead of doing a public accusation, the way of doing it with compassion, if the matter is true, because if the matter is true, in case of a public accusation, what's the punishment?
Death.
It's death by stoning. This is what we just read in the chapter 22. The compassionate way to do it is just to provide a certificate of divorce in the same way that Joseph was trying or thinking to do with Miriam in order to avoid the punishment in case the girl is a maiden. But what will happen, and this is the part that I disagree with the ISR, and I will show you why I disagree with this, is that what will happen if we're talking about a woman that is not a maiden. We were just talking about a woman that went through violation, and we brought this passage in the book of Shemot, Exodus, that is the decision of the father and also the woman, if she's going to stay with the man that violated her. So that woman is not a maiden anymore. What will happen if she's going to stay with the father and later on she wants to marry? So in this case, it's not applicable that the matter of uncoverness is the indication that she was fornicated in the past. Do you believe that the father and the woman is not going to tell them the truth to the new husband? Absolutely, they are going to tell the truth, unless they want to be evil and they want to deceive the new husband. So this needs to be something else. And actually, the way, let me put something in addition here. When we go to the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 32, and I know these kind of things are difficult to talk about, but we need to talk about what is written in the Word. You know, it is written here, and it has said, this is YaHuWaH speaking, and it has said, whoever puts away his wife, let him give her a certificate of divorce. But I say to you that whoever puts away his wife, except for the matter of whoring, makes her commit adultery. And whoever marries a woman who has been put away commits adultery. Here is a confirmation of what we were talking last night, okay? About who is committing adultery. Is the exception, the only exception for divorce is the matter of whoring. So it's whoring. And you know, whoring could be many things. Let me go again here. When we go to the Hebrew, and this is, you know, is critical, and it's talking about the matter of uncleanness, is the word erva. And the word erva has been translated as nakedness. And we have an entire chapter in the book of Bemidbar, Numbers of YaHuWaH Leviticus, I don't remember which one of those, that is talking about forbidden relationship. Is to uncover the nakedness of the father, is uncover the nakedness of the sister, and so on and so forth. So each one of those forbidden sexual relationship or sexual intercourse
18 and 20
of the book of Leviticus
yeah.
is considered a matter of uncleanness. Just taking a look on what YaHuWaH said about whoring, and also taking a look of what is the word behind nakedness. Now, if we go even beyond to analyze the situation of YaHuWaH, YaHuWaH was given a certificate of divorce to Jerusalem. You can think it's Israel, I think it's Jerusalem. We can have a different opinions. He gave the certificate of divorce to Jerusalem, and she was committed. This is in the chapter 16 of the book of Ezekiel. Okay, if you can want to dig a little bit deeper, and actually maybe we're gonna share a little bit of that in a moment. She was committing whoring all the time. It is written like that. She was committing whoring, but she was already engaged. What type of whoring is that one? A woman that is already engaged, a married woman. That type of whoring is adultery. So adultery is a type of whoring that even YaHuWaH was patient because he hated divorcement. He was patient, but at the moment, in one moment, it's enough. And he gave a certificate of divorce. So adultery is also a type of whoring. So once again, what the point that I want to make here? Where is here? Is that it's not like what is written in the footnote of the ISR. That's the only situation is a maiden that was fornicating or whoring before. Is any type of sexual intercourse that are forbidden, any type of whoring, the one that we have been talking in the previous chapter, any type of nakedness that is in the chapter 18 of the book of Leviticus, any type of whore or adultery that is related to the same. So, and this is, it's going to be the tough question that I'm going to tell you, and it's something that we are analyzing individually, and I think you should do the same. You need to look about your stories, look into the past. And if you have been going through a situation like this, you need to analyze what is your situation currently before the eyes of YaHuWaH. If you are in the right situation now, or you are not, and to ask Allah to guide you on what you have to do. Because, if we continue reading the rest, you can read the 2 and the 3.
And if she left his house and went and became another man's wife, and the latter husband shall hate her and write her a certificate of divorce and put it in her hand and send her out of his house, or when the latter husband dies, who took her to be his wife, then her former husband, who sent her away, is not allowed to take her back to be his wife after she has been defiled. For that would be an abomination before YaHuWaH. And do not bring sin on the land which YaHuWaH your Elohim is giving you as an inheritance.
So again, we're talking about abominations. We talk about our entry pass to the kingdom needs to be related to cleanness, not adultery, not any type of whoring. So that's why we need to analyze our own situation, our own lives. Okay? From the spiritual application point of view, just to make my point regarding the woman, let's go and let's take a look in the book of Hosea. I hope you're not getting bored or getting sleepy like Lillian. because this is taking too long. When we talk about, if you read in context the book of Hosea, and I included this in the last day, chapter 12 that I mentioned before, in the identity of the woman. 5 hours, good, okay. We can understand that, in this chapter is talking about Jerusalem. It says, "Say to your brothers, O my people, and to your sister, O compassionate one, strive with your mother." So it's children striving with the mother. "Strive, for she is not my wife, nor am I her husband. Let her put away her whorings from her face, and her adulteries from between her breasts. Lest I strip her naked, and shall set her up, as on the days she was born, and shall make her like a wilderness, and shall set her like a dry land, and shall put her to death with thirst." So, I'm not going to read the entire chapter. And by the way, here's something beautiful in terms of the marriage relationship. Changing from Baali to Ishi is something more profound, even that is touching us somehow individually. So how we can understand that this is talking about Jerusalem is the following. When it's saying about the punishment, "Therefore I shall turn back and shall take my grain in its time, and my new wine in its appointed time, and I shall take away my wool and my linen covering her nakedness. And now I shall uncover her shame before the eyes of her lover, and no one shall deliver her from my hand. And I shall cause all her rejoicing, her festival, her new moons, or Chodeshim, and her Shabbatot, even all her appointed times to cease." So where are we supposed to bring all our offerings, all the grain, all the new wine, all the wool, all the linen, where we are going to rejoice with the festival and the beginning of the months and the Shabbatot? Where? In Jerusalem. So just by taking a look on this, we can understand that the mother that is talking in the first verse is talking about Jerusalem, the one that was committing adultery and whoring. And that's why, the beautiful picture of YaHuWaH is that that he needed to restore that woman. And who is providing even more wisdom on this is, again, Shaul Paul, when he's talking about when a woman is bound, is tied to Torah, to her husband, until her husband died. And this is an additional piece when we talk about the physical application of the commandment. And Shaul is talking a lot about this. Is that about adultery, divorce, and what should be the decision of the woman in case she is being divorced unrighteously. And again, I don't want to spend 6 hours here, because if we go into the details, we're going to spend 6 or even more hours. But I invite you to read those things and to connect the dots of what we are sharing today. So Shaul is talking that, the only way that the woman was going to be free from that bound of Torah is by the husband dying. And this is exactly what YaHuWaH did for us. In order to set us free, in order to become, that's the way that it's written, in order to become the wife of another one, the one that was rose up from the dead.
But willingly. Willingly.
Exactly. And that's the tale of the two women. The New Jerusalem that is clean, and we are part of the woman because she's our mother, and the Jerusalem of who is today. Okay? I'm not going to go into the details, but you have passages in the book of Yeshayahu, chapter 50, in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 3, in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 16. This is an important one because it's talking exactly and especially about Jerusalem, how she was committing adultery. Now, regarding the application, the physical application, let me give you an additional passage just to complement what I have been saying so far. In the chapter 19, verse 7 and 9. Actually, let's read before. And the Pharisees came to him in the verse 3, trying him and saying to him, "Is it right for a man to put away his wife for every reason?" Absolutely not. It's not for every reason. It's just for one reason. And YaHuWaH is clarifying. He said, And he answered and said to them, Did you not read that he who made them at the beginning made them male and female? And said, For this cause a man shall leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh, so that they are no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore, what Elohim has joined together, let man not separate. The only one that can separate is YaHuWaH. The one joining together is the one that can separate things, not man. They said to him, Why then did Moshe command to give certificate of divorce and to put her away? He said to them, Because of the hardness of your heart. Moshe allowed you to put away your wives, but from the beginning it was not so. And we see the example of YaHuWaH. He didn't give the certificate of divorce immediately. He waited patiently with compassion until he was fed up too much. Here you have. So the hardness of the heart. And I say to you, whoever puts away his wife except on the ground of whoring and marries another commits adultery. Or whoever marries her who has been put away commits adultery. So the only exception is the matter of whoring, and we have been talking already about this. So let's move on. So here, verse 5. I'm the one reading or you?
I don't remember.
I think you are the one reading. Yeah.
When a man has taken a new wife, let him not go out into the army, not let any matter to be imposed upon him. He shall be exempt 1 year for the sake of his home, to rejoice with his wife whom he has taken. No one takes him. I don't know. It was mentioned in the previous, I think, portion, when it was the officers who was asking if there anybody who has
As a new wife is
Yeah,
connected to
yeah.
that. You're
So,
all right.
yeah.
And this is what we were reading last week, right?
Yeah.
Okay, this is, it's a beautiful thing. Just to enjoy marriage.
No one takes in pledge the lower or the upper millstone, for he would be taken alive in pledge. When a man is found kidnapping any of his brother of the children of Israel, and treats him harshly, or sells him, then that kidnapper shall die. Thus you shall purge the evil from your midst.
Just to make a comment on regarding the
Before-
verse 6.
Yeah.
Is, the lower or the upper millstone is regarding to life. They were using the stones in order to produce food.
Yeah, you cannot use only one. You need both.
You need both. So at the end, it's just to take away from a person what is sustaining his life. So, today we're not using the stones. We should actually. But this is, we can correlate to anything that this is vital for the person. Okay?
Yeah.
And kidnapping.
Yeah.
Wow, this is happening in many countries.
Yeah.
Okay?
Take heed in an outbreak of leprosy to diligently guard and do according to all that the priests, the Levites, teach you, as I have commanded them. So you shall guard to do. Remember that what YaHuWaH, your Elohim, did to Miriam on the way when you came out of Mizraim. So,
How we need to act in case of plagues, If we have a pandemic,
yeah, maybe we
we
need
know how to, but a real one,
Yeah.
we need to know how to act.
and to look the root
Yes.
cause of that
And
pandemic.
to trust in YaHuWaH to guide us on what we have to do.
When you lend your brother alone, do not go into his house to get his pledge. Stand outside and let the man to whom you lend bring the pledge out to you. And if the man is poor, do not sleep with his pledge. By all means return the pledge to him at sundown. And he shall sleep in his own garment, and shall bless you. And it shall be righteousness to you before YaHuWaH your Elohim.
Because we're doing good. If we're doing good, we become righteousness. There is a word and scripture that is talking about that. And even Yahushua, if I remember well, he was talking about the same. That, we need to be compassionate.
Do not oppress a hired servant who is poor and needy, of your brothers or of your strangers who are in your land within your gates. Give him his wages on the same day, and do not let the sun go down on it, for he is poor and lifts up his being to it, so that he does not cry out against you to YaHuWaH, and it shall be seen in you. So
Payment. Again, how the system is being defined is totally against the Torah.
Yeah.
And receive my payments in a monthly basis.
Yeah, most of the people, I think.
Most of the people, yeah.
Yeah. Fathers are not put to death for their children, and children are not to put to death for the fathers. Each is to die for his own sin.
Mm-hmm.
Do not twist the right ruling of a stranger or the fatherless, not take the garment of a widow. But you should remember that, and I think that is because that is something with that.
And you have something to share? I don't have.
Well, that is talking about, again, death punishment. So it says that the fathers cannot take the death punishment of the children and the children of the father.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody's responsible, but for what they are doing.
And we saw the example of the rebellious son.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was not the father receiving the punishment, it was the son.
Yeah.
Was committing sin.
Yeah. And not twist the right ruling of the stranger, of the fatherless, and take the garment of a widow.
And I think this is a more generic point, because we are commanded not to be partial. We need to judge with impartiality.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we need to use right ruling. What are the right ruling? Is exactly here we have been talking this 3 hours already.
Yeah.
2 hours actually, because the first hour was something different.
Yeah.
About the mishpatim, the right rulings of the word.
Mm-hmm. But you shall remember that you were a slave in Mizraim, and that YaHuWaH your Elohim ransomed you from there. Therefore I am commanded you to do this work. When you reap your harvest in your field, and have forgotten a sheaf in the field, do not go back to get it. Let it be for the stranger, for the fatherless, and for the widow, so that YaHuWaH your Elohim might bless you in all the work of your hands. When you beat your olive trees, do not examine the branch behind you. Let it be for the stranger, for the fatherless, or for the widow. When you gather the grapes of your vineyard, do not glean behind you. Let it be for the stranger, for the fatherless, or for the widow. And you shall remember that you were a slave in the land of Mizraim. Therefore I am commanded you to do this work.
You know, and in the Brit Hadashah, we are so commanded to take care of the fatherless, to the widow, and it's totally connected to what we are reading here. Those are things that we should apply in our own lives. Maybe we don't have fields that we are having fruits and so on. You know, we need to find a way and to ask the Abba to guide us on how to fulfill this commandment.
Sometimes maybe we're having enough and we need to share with somebody.
Yeah.
When, I don't know, when the expiration date is going to approach. Or I don't know, we see that it's coming, then we don't have to keep everything until the end. It's like that.
Absolutely. Let's go to the last chapter. It's the chapter 25. It's
So it's
19
22.
verses. So it's my time, my turn.
Yeah.
So it says, when there is a dispute between men, then they shall come in unto judgment, and they shall be judged. And the righteous declare righteous, and the wrongdoer declare wrong. So it's a justice system in the word. And who are the judge? They are judge, shofet, or shofetim. And also the kohanim, the priests, are going to be judging. We were talking about that last week, I think, in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 44, when it's talking about the son of Zadok. They are going to be the one assigned to judge. And let me show you something else. Shaul, Paul, in the chapter 6 of 1 Corinthians says the following: should any of you holding a matter against another go to be judged before the unrighteous and not before the set apart ones? Do you not know that the set apart ones should judge the world? And if the world is judged by you, are you unworthy to judge the smallest matter? So what he's saying is that we need to learn how to judge according to Mishpatim. It's our responsibility to learn how to do it. Do you not know that we shall judge messengers? How much more matters of this life? If then you truly have judgment of this life, do you appoint them as judges who are least esteemed by the assembly? I say this to your shame. Is it so that there is not a wise one among you, not even one, who shall be able to judge between his brothers? But brother against brother goes to be judged, and that before unbelievers. Already then there is a failure with you, that you have lawsuits among you. Why not rather be wronged? Why not rather be cheated? But you yourselves do wrong and cheat, and that to your brothers. So what it's talking about is that we need to learn how to judge. We need to learn how to judge according to Torah. You know, even before going to to the justice system of the world.
It's among the brothers.
It's among the brothers. This is something that we need to.
And I think that's why it says that at the beginning it's going to start by the one who are in the Shemaim,
Yes.
and then it's going to.
And what Yarach is saying here in the comment is right, and it's an important comment. Yeah, but Paul appealed to Caesar, and it's true. He was not being judged by the brothers. He was already delivered to the Roman system, so he needed to act according to the Roman system, taking advantage of his citizenship as a Roman. So he was being judged among the brothers. He was not going to appeal Caesar. Okay? And we know that he was being persecuted by his blood brother, the Yahudim, but he was delivered to the Roman system.
Maybe at the end we're going to be judged by the two systems.
Most probably. So let's continue. And it shall be, if the wrongdoer is to be struck, that the judge shall cause him to lie down and be struck in his presence with number of blows according to his wrong. 40 strikes he gives him, but no more, lest he strike him with many more blows than this, and your brother be degraded before your eyes. And Shaul even, he faced this situation. But you brought an important point yesterday when we were talking about this, is that the judge needs to be present. Our justice system in the world is not working like this. Judges are giving just the sentence, but they are not in the presence of the punishment, not all the time. So do not muzzle an ox while it is threshing. And Shaul was talking about that, and I'm going to give you, just take note, we're not going to go there. It's in the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 7 and 10. He's talking about that in order to understand how this is applicable to us. Okay? It's not talking, and Shaul is saying, do you think that the Elohim is concerned about the animals? For sure he is. For sure he is. But this commandment is also talking about us, all of us, as servants of YaHuWaH Elohim. So go ahead and read after this marathon. Read 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 7 and 10. When brothers dwell together, and one of them had died and has no son, the widow of the dead man shall not become a stranger outside. Her husband's brother thus go in to her, and shall take her as a wife, and perform the duty of a husband brother to her. And it shall be that the firstborn son, which she bears, does rise up for the name of his dead brother, so that his name is not blotted out of Israel. But if the man does not desire to take his brother's wife, then let his brother's wife go up to the gate to the elders and say, my husband's brother refuses to raise up a name to his brother in Israel. He does not agree to perform the duty of my husband's brother. The elders of his city shall then call him and speak to him, and he shall stand and say, I have no desire to take her. Then his brother's wife shall come to him in the presence of the elders, and remove his sandals from his foot, and shall spit in his face, and answer and say, thus it is done to the man who does not build up his brother's house. And in Israel his name shall be called the house of him who had his sandal removed. And we have two examples of this one, and we're not going to go there, so I'm going to tell you where to go and read about this. Is the story of Tamar first with Yehuda. This was exactly what needs to happen. And Yehuda thought that, all my sons are dying, so I'm not going to give you the little one. But he was committing sin. And at the end, the story, you remember how it ended up, is that this is an example of what we are reading here. And the other one is Ruth. If you go to the book of Ruth, you're going to read exactly this thing, and the Redeemer, the first Redeemer, refused to take Ruth, and his sandal was removed. And the second Redeemer, that was Boaz, he was taking the inheritance of Naomi and also taking Ruth as a wife. It's exactly what is written over here. Okay? And by the way, another example that we forgot to mention, when a man taken by force a woman and lying with her, is the case of Adonijah and I think it's Tamar the name, right? Is the son and daughter of King David.
Mm.
And the lady, I don't remember if it's Tamar the name, was the sister of Absalom.
Mm.
And the brother wanted to take her, and she did it, and he did it by force.
Mm.
And after that, he did it by force. He hated her,
Mm.
and she put away her.
Mm.
So he committed two sins. The first sin is
Take her by
taken
force.
by taken by. It's not taken by force only. She was lying with her sister.
Yeah.
And this is part of the nakedness.
Yeah.
It's whoring.
Yeah, because even though it was a sister of the stepsister, is a sister.
It's a sister, according to what is written in Leviticus chapter 18.
Mm.
And the second sin, and actually she's telling him, but don't do that because it's going to be even worse to you what you have done.
Mm.
Is that putting her away,
Mm.
because he was not following what is in Torah, that he was taken by force. He needed to remain with her. It just came to my mind, and I wanted to give another example to that passage. When men fight with one another, a man and his brother, and the wife of one shall draw near to rescue her husband from the hand of the one striking him, and shall put out her hand and take hold of him by the genitals. Then you shall cut off her hands. Your eyes does not pardon.
Mm.
So it's a very strong instruction. But what we were talking is that, if she wants to help his husband, she can take the other one from any other place. I think not from there. Maybe what the word is somehow inducing for us to understand is that she by purpose took him from the genitals. So if she allowed this thought to come into his mind, what else she can do in the future? That's why remove the hand in order to remove leaven. Okay? You shall not have in your bag different weights, a heavy and a light. You shall not have in your house different measures, a large and a small. You shall have a perfect and right weight, a perfect and right measure, so that they prolong your days on the soil which YaHuWaH your Elohim is giving you. We need to be righteous all the time.
It's the same like being not partial. It's everything is going to be the same. It
Absolutely.
doesn't matter where.
For all who do this, and all who do unrighteously, are an abomination to YaHuWaH your Elohim. We need to be careful not to be doing abominable things before the eyes of YaHuWaH. Remember what Amalek did to you on the way that you were coming out of Mizraim, how he met you on the way and attacked your back, all the feeble ones in your rear, when you were tired and weary, and he did not fear Elohim. Therefore it shall be when YaHuWaH your Elohim has given you rest from your enemies all around, in the land which YaHuWaH your Elohim is giving you to possess as an inheritance, that you blow out the remembrance of Amalek from under the heavens. Do not forget. And now I remember something that I didn't tell you when we were reading this passage. I think I'm not completely sure, but I think somebody, I think it was my dad, sent me a video of a Jewish lady that she was trying to connect the Holocaust during the Second World War with this passage, and also connected this with the story of Esther. And again, I'm not completely sure, but I think she was connecting Amalek to the government of the Nazis. That somehow they were the continuation of Amalek. And this is something interesting that maybe it's worth enough to invest the time to investigate these things.
But I think that also is not only to look in some kind of a government or movement. I think that it's also talking to us, because it says blow
You're
out.
talking spiritually.
Yeah, now I'm talking spiritual. It says blow out even the remembrance, what they have done. And what they did is that they were attacking from behind when they were weary, when they were tired, when they were going out from Israel.
Yeah.
So I think that is the attitude that he's asking us to get rid of, that we don't have to be like that. We have to be supportive with the rest. If we if we see somebody who is falling down, we have to try to help them, and not
the
to
same
put,
thing that we saw
yeah,
in the commandments here.
yeah,
Yeah.
is not to put more stuff so they're going to die, and
Uh-huh.
that was their attitude.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Susan sent us a beautiful email this morning, and I will answer you, dear sister, if you're here. And it's a beautiful example on the same thing. You know, David was going to the battle,
Mm,
and some of them they were fainting,
mm,
and they decided to stay in the middle of the way,
mm.
and only few were to the battle.
Yeah.
And then when they will come back, you know,
The-
David decided to
To
share
the
the
spoil.
spoil with everyone, even with the one that were fainting
Mm.
and they were not going to the war.
Mm,
This is exactly the same thing. We need to be careful and we need to be compassionate for those who want that they wanted to go to war but are not able because they are fainting. And we need to take care of them.
mm,
We need to take care of them and to try to help them.
mm,
You know, but this is going in two ways. Always is going two ways. Even with healings.
mm,
Is one thing is our intention to help, but the other part, the counterpart, needs to be also willing to receive help.
mm,
You know, and then this is something we need to let the Ruach guide us always, because for more that we try to help, if the other counterpart is not willing to receive the help, there's nothing we can do about it. So the only thing we can do is just to pray.
mm.
Okay. So okay, it's been a marathon, almost 3.5 hours. I think this is the longest one.
Yeah.
Right. But it has been a blessing for us to be sharing all of this. It took me a while in the first hour, but I needed to speak out what I got in my heart. So I really hope that this was a blessing to you all, or to you all.
To y'all.
Yeah, just remembering Susan. And we need to continue praying. We need to continue seeking the Ruach, as I told you the first hour.
We are
We
learning.
need to continue learning. We need to continue
Mm,
walking steadfast in the way of righteousness by keeping Torah. We need to learn. We need to, and especially, you know, it's been in my heart for a while already, and that's why I have been insisting so much. We need to analyze our lives to the mirror of Torah, because all of us needs to go and inherit the promise.
yeah.
And the only way to inherit is that we need to analyze our lives, our past sins, our current sins, to the light of Torah.
Mm,
So that's my invitation. Do your own research.
mm,
Unfortunately, you know, we need to be, I don't know, an entire day, 24 hours to go into all the details we have been talking in order to share what we have been learning. And again, what we are sharing with you is what we have received. We are not the owner of the truth.
everybody's learning.
Every day we are learning even more.
Mm,
And we need to have a teachable heart in order to be corrected by YaHuWaH if it's needed. So that should be our mindset, always being humble in order to receive new knowledge from YaHuWaH. But again, do your part. Analyze your life, analyze your story, especially when we're talking about relationship between people, is the more tough one, is the toughest one. So it's important that we analyze with patience and by the guidance of the Ruach HaKodesh, especially in this portion, what YaHuWaH wants from us in order to be clean and doing the right thing before his eyes, not before our own eyes. We need to seek always to do what is right in his eyes, not in the eyes of others, of even our own eyes. So having said that, thank you so much, as always, for your patience, especially in this long study.
Yeah.
And we hope to see you next week and the continuation of the next portion in the Barim.
Yep.
And in the meantime, Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.
YaHuWaH be with you. Have a blessed continuation of Shabbat, and especially have a blessed week. So see you next one.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Yeshua.